All right, everybody. I'm your intrepid and fearless host, David Wilcock. This is David Wilcock Live, the Festival of Ascension. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here today. This is a really great day, you guys. It's a very special day because this is our main holiday for the Ascension. So I want to thank you right away for joining me on the front lines. This is a very exciting and scary time to be on the planet, to be alive right now. Yes, if you bet on the pink shirt, you are the winner. The pink shirt is the winner today, so thank you in advance for everybody who bet on the pink shirt. I did kind of telegraph that last week. Serena Bella is here, Jill G. We got, Ross Feinstein is back. That's great. Says he's here. That's good. We knew he was having some health problems, but Carolina Patriot, thank you for being with us today. We already had 500 people waiting, which is really great on an Easter Sunday. I didn't know if any of you guys would want to show up. Yes, the 2 pilots have been rescued, and that is really, really great news. So we are happy that everything is good. David is aging backwards these last few months. I'm not really trying to, but if that's what it looks like what is happening, then I accept that. Thank you for being here today. This is such a great holiday. It's the time of Ascension. It's the time of transfiguration. It's the time that we all get to be, brought up in the light of the one infinite creator and reminded of this incredible transmutation that occurred with Jesus, where he transformed his flesh into some sort of light body activation. And we remember we talked about before that when he came out, he had to show them the holes in his hands because he looked apparently different. We talked about that before, that Lazarus was a miracle of bringing somebody back from the dead. So he'd already done that. Jesus had already accomplished that. But then what does he do? He actually brings about his own transfiguration. This is something that really transformed him into a totally different being. And, that led to a whole new thing. So it's a whole new type of ascension, light, love, transfiguration. That's what we're about today. We want to celebrate that and celebrate the glory of Easter because it is a great time to be alive. Oh, thank you. Vicky Crew Fuller says I look great. Beverly Adams says, love all to the Sunday family. So thank you, Beverly, for the donation. That's the first one we got today, looks like. So we are already racking them up. Rainbow body activation. You're looking well and spiffy today, says ColorFab. Yes, thank you very much. This is the resurrection day, says Frank Barter. You're absolutely right. And I am very relieved that Jesus did this because, without that pathway that we have to that higher consciousness, I don't think the world would be the same. I think that we had, back in the times of Rome and Carthage, there was an open presentation of the demonic, of negative entities that were out there in the public square. Like you had, for example, the arch that was there, and you'd have public ceremonies, public offerings being done, in which apparently people were getting results and they were seeing these creatures. And also in the Bible, remember that, oh my goodness, look at this. We got donations coming in already. Thank you, guys. I'll talk about that in a second. But we have Beverly Adams. Jesus promised we will do greater things than he, and we will. Master Kenobi, hello, brother. Looking forward to this show. Zoran's mom donated $100. Thank you, Mary. Happy Easter, David. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else today. I really am very appreciative for that. Thank you. Cindy J, $50. Happy Easter, David. I'm cooking dinner for family and tuning in. You always look great. Love and light. And then good old R.W. Phoenix, who's one of our most consistent, strong donors, donated $333 right there. That's the red one. So they are rolling in at the moment. Thank you very much. He says, happy Easter. Thank you, David, for all you do and the truth you bring to us in every session. May peace, love, and light be unto you and us all. Namaste. Christ has risen. Somebody says, it's not pink, it's a dusty rose. David, you look wonderful. Your light energy is shining through. Happy Easter. So let's talk about that a minute. I don't want people to get pissed off because I spent too much time talking about Super Chat donations, but we do really love it. So thank you guys very much for that. Anyway, back in the days of Rome and Carthage, they were openly doing ceremonies for Baal or Baal and Moloch. They were openly creating these offerings, as you could call them. And apparently within the arch, people were getting results. They were seeing these creatures appear. Plus, as I just said, in the Bible, 2 different books, you have Jesus with an account of this man who was shape-shifting into demonic entities and attacking people, and Jesus cast demons out of him into pigs and then had the pigs run into the water. That's another really weird story in there. The man was actually healed afterwards. The demons were cast out. So that's an important part of what Ascension is about, is the casting out of the negative, the casting out of demonic presences. And, you know, is there any truth behind that stuff? I don't know. But it's a very interesting thing to think about, that that's where we're going here. And anyway, looks like the comments have stopped for a second. Maybe I've just kind of captivated you guys with what I'm saying. But yeah, there we go. Okay. They're still coming in. Thank you. Thank you for writing. So when we look at the idea of the Ascension, when we look at this concept, I liken it to something that's very whole and very pure and very clean, that is intended to happen to everyone. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We got some new quotes for you. We're going to talk about the planetary version of Ascension. As I've said before, the original term for the term word was logos. And with the help of the esoteric material law of one, we have reason to believe that the logos means the galaxy. So we have a cosmic cosmology in which Jesus became the embodiment, or Yehoshua or Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, became the embodiment of a galactic consciousness, a galactic mind. And that's actually really interesting, the idea that the galaxy itself could have condensed into human form to make a special celebrity appearance for us as what you could think of as the embodiment of love itself. When we look at a lot of different esoteric teachings, a lot of different traditions out there, we're seeing that love is the essence of reality. Love is the essence of the universe. It is an active, dynamic, transformative force. It is not just something that we think, oh, well, you know, that's just this emotion that people feel. It's caused by chemical secretions in the brain. No. What we're actually hearing from the Law of One, sources like that, is that love is a dynamic, living, intelligent force that really does transform all life on Earth with its radiance, with its majesty, with its presence. This is a very, very good thing that we have the loving consciousness here. And I want to thank you again today for joining me on the front lines. We have some very intense stuff going on in the world right now. So this message is needed more than ever before. It really is. But I'm not here just to talk. I'm here also to listen. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But anyway, so there's a lot of good stuff going on. We have a good presentation for you guys. It's a great show. Disclosure news heated up this week, pretty big. We've got several things coming out that really kind of move the ball forward on disclosure. And I'm just really excited to be here. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for joining me on the front lines. And this show is dedicated to those who might be alone today. I am here with you, and we are doing this together. So if you didn't have anything else to do, if you didn't have any family that you were meeting with, well, guess what? I've got your back. You're not alone. We're hanging out together. We're having a good time together. And here we are, not even 10 minutes in. We're already looking at 1,000 viewers. That's a pretty darn good sized audience for, you know, just showing up on an Easter Sunday. I wasn't sure again if I was going to do a show. I've had a really rough week. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but here I am. We put it together. We got slides for you guys. Everything is great. And, you know, this is a very good thing. And so anyway, we got a lot going on here. So that's something that we can take to the bank, that there's a lot of presence of the glory of Christ right now. In the beginning of the Law of One, they do explain that they are from the realms of timelessness and foreverness, and that is above the realms of the fourth density love energy and the fifth density light energy, that they are actually at the sixth density level where love and light are fused together, and that's where you get the Law of One. So the Law of One has a lot of interesting relevance to us today. Bonnie Demlong says, I watch you every week. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm with my family at the park. Happy Easter. Great. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for writing. Thank you being here. I've never heard you come on without complaining about your week. Well, yeah, because times are really hard. I think everybody's going through that. I think everybody's going through hard stuff right now. I'm not necessarily having a good time, but I'm willing to show up. I'm willing to be here on the holiday dedicated to crucifixion and resurrection, which for me feels very apropos at this moment in time. It's a very apropos thing that we've got this type of thing going on right now, where we have this celebration of the Ascension. The Festival of Ascension is the name of today's talk, and that's what we're talking about. So, yes, it's a great thing to recognize that Jesus showed us a path. He showed us an avenue by which ascension is possible. And in the Law of One tradition, it has to do with being loving and kind and patient and forgiving. In forgiveness lies the stopping of the wheel of karma. So yes, we've got a lot of good things going on in the world when we get beyond the immediate hurdles of war and crisis and fear. I believe ultimately this is all heading in a very positive direction. And so we can look at that and say to ourselves, you know, this is something that's very good for us. It's a very positive thing that we're going to be allowed to continue to exist in this omnipresent universe, because I believe that we will be saved. I believe that we will go through this with preservation. And Vicky Crew Fuller just donated. She says, Christmas consciousness returned today, and I feel this. By the way, if you donate to our private link, which people can put in there, I will read your names next week on the show, so everybody gets credited if you made a donation. I'll read at least enough of your name, whatever your comment is, that we can get that out as well. But anyway, I want to thank you guys again for being here. It is exciting. It's an exciting time. It's a happy time, because, you know, the Ascension is something that we never get tired of talking about here on David Wilcock Live. David, last week someone mentioned Superman and the Yeshua connection. I was thinking Superman was more like Padmasambhava, though. Well, it kind of, I mean, look, Jesus is an ascended master, and he was the embodiment of the Logos, but he also tells us, as I do these things, so shall you do them, and greater things, for I go unto my Father, Mother, God. So that's a very powerful statement that he made, and I think that we all ultimately have this potential, not necessarily that we are the Son of God, per se, but that we have the potential to align with this cosmic consciousness. The Law of One talks about personality transparency, that you get to the point where your personality is unified with this logoic consciousness. So yes, everything is super intense right now. And at the same time, like I've said many times before, the Tibetan saying is, you're never closer to God than when you're on the run from a pack of wild dogs that are trying to kill you. So the world does feel pretty scary right now. It feels pretty intense right now. There's a lot of super intense stuff going on, but hey, we can handle it. We're all adults here. So just because everything is super intense right now doesn't mean that we can't live our lives. The war issues continue to be more and more intense. That's one of the main things that we're facing right now, is that whole thing. And so my goal is to create an oasis of peace and positivity. We're not going to dwell on negative subjects too much, because again, let's remember that today is a festival of ascension. And that's what we're here for. We're here to celebrate the glory of the resurrection, the glory of the rising of Christ from the dead. I mean, wow. That just cannot be duplicated in pretty much any other story we have on Earth. It is a hero's journey par excellence. It is really an amazing and beautiful thing that we have going on here. And there's a lot to be liking in the universe right now. There's a lot of things that are good. There's a lot of reasons to be positive. There's a lot of reasons to be happy. Let's try to focus on that. Let's focus on how we can be more embodied in our own consciousness today. And there's a lot of good stuff going on with disclosure. We're getting both sides of the story. Remember, Jesus cast out demons And the demonic aspect of the UFO phenomenon is definitely starting to get highlighted more and more. And there were some new things this week, as well as we'll review what happened last week. That's right. Hit the like button. And YouTube gave me a thumbs up just now. Somebody said, I hit the like button on my phone. It just showed up now. Thank you very much. So yes, we're all eternal beings. After 3 days of dying to the flesh, our spirits rise again, says Joseph Yanni. That's a very good point. We all have to die to our own ego. I think there's a whole crucifixion metaphor that the logoic consciousness that was embodied in Jesus, this galactic mind, wanted us to see. In other words, we are not just alone with our own thoughts. We have this higher guiding principle. There's a higher guiding principle that is watching over us and seeing who and what we are, and keeping us safe and keeping us happy and keeping us in a good place. So let's just try to stay there. Let's try to stay in the light, stay in the love, stay in the positivity, because it is difficult right now. And Ross says he's definitely been through the crucifixion. I agree. I'm going there too, buddy. So anyway, it's the best time to be alive. The revealing is wild. That's right. We're all going through this together. And so, again, the Christ story is purely magical. One of the things that came out this week that I'm really happy for, the Sean Ryan show, which is very, very popular, had Jeremiah Johnston on. And Montreal Mark wrote this in my Twitter page. He said, X page, he said, hey, Cosmic Family, for Easter, check out this mind-blowing video about the Shroud of Turin. It proves the resurrection without a shadow of a doubt. Yes, and so Jeremiah Johnston was someone who originally set out to debunk these claims that the Shroud of Turin was some sort of actual burial shroud around Jesus as he resurrected. But in fact, we've seen this data for a long time. When you look at the shroud, it has a photographic negative burned into it, so that if you actually negate the whites and the blacks, and you make the whites into black and the blacks into white, you crank up the contrast a little bit, you see this beautiful image of his body, and it was burned into the shroud through photons that actually show that the body had to have been levitating while it was happening. It was not caused by any type of normal process like, blood or bodily fluids of other kinds. It was caused by photonic burning in. The photons burned into the cloth. This is a big, big part of the story. It's really, really fascinating. Again, thank you everybody for being here today. I'm so grateful that you're here. We already have 1,500 viewers on Easter, and we're only 17 minutes in. I think that's pretty phenomenal. So really glad that you guys are spending time with me today, and I feel humbled and honored that you're here. So thank you again. The most important thing is that you showed up. And yes, Benno from Oz says, struggling in this density feels like the whipping and persecution Jesus suffered. As Christ suffered, so must we. Amen. Well, we're going to read a quote from Edgar Casey in just a minute here about Jesus as your elder brother and the idea that we're all being activated by this Christ consciousness. But some people might think it's blasphemous to try to compare our own suffering to that of Jesus. However, I believe that's what we really are intended to do. And it's really powerful. It's a really powerful time to be alive. That's right. Easter is right in the middle of Passover this year. The fourth day, the Shamesh, elevated light in the center of the menorah, 3 branches on each side. But again, let's talk about the shroud a little bit more. We can actually see that the body had to have been levitating because of the way that the flesh looks on the backside, specifically the backside, the buttocks. Normally, if the weight of the body was resting down, the buttocks would have a different look to them. But the body was clearly lifting off of the ground. There's an image of the body on both sides of the shroud. And again, it was burned in with high-intensity photons in a perfect photographic negative. And then there's 3-dimensional reconstructions that have been done based upon these photonic burns and based upon how they look. And in fact, you get the whole 3-dimensional image of the face as well. I didn't have time to build slides for all this again. I've done it before, but it's really, really amazing. So we've got really good stuff going on. Linda Kiesling says she's got all caps because she's having tremors today. We're sorry to hear that, Linda. Thank you for being here. David, relax. You look very tense. No, I'm okay. Everything's good. We're just going through a lot of stuff, and so thank you all for being here. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we can get along and be in the same space and share resonance together. So it's good. The body appears to be laying on cushions or a feather comforter, not a flat stone table. Well, yeah, true, but I'm still saying that the scientific research I reviewed showed that the body had to have been levitating. That's a very important part of the story. And we're now up to 1,565 viewers. So thank you very much. Somebody said, your smile is epic. Yes, the Shroud of Turin is amazing. And so we're very grateful to be here with you. And the Shroud of Turin thing, I'm glad that that's circulating again because it builds our faith in the supernatural. It builds our faith in the idea that Christ did come here for this sacred mission of creating a path for resurrection, salvation, and ascension. And when we look at these esoteric materials I talk about week after week, we see that, in fact, yes, there is a much greater force in the universe that is the one infinite creator, and that force embodied in its galactic form as this logoic incarnation of Jesus. But we are all apparently destined to become part of that logos, to become part of that higher consciousness, to embody that galactic mind. So it isn't just something that happens to one entity like Jesus. It's something that is in various ways going to happen to us all. So we did also get an Easter miracle this weekend, which was that thankfully the missing soldier was rescued. And we are going to cover that later on when we get into our section on current events. So yes, the missing soldier was rescued. And I do believe that this saved us from a far more negative timeline. Thank God. Imagine what would have happened if they had gotten to him first with what we saw in the past with hostage. I remember growing up right during the election between Reagan and Carter, the hostage crisis was going on. Immediately after Reagan got into office, the hostages were freed. But yes, my father was so worried about the Iranian hostage situation. And then if they'd made a big spectacle out of it, if they tortured him or something. So again, thank God that didn't happen. That could have been a much, much more negative timeline that we were on. Anita Tompas donated Happy Easter. She says, thank you, Anita, very much. So yes, we'll get into that when we get into current events, but one of the classic quotes was shared by David Nino Rodriguez, a colleague of mine. He is not here, for he is risen, and as he said, come see the place where the Lord lay. So yes, these are beautiful quotes. They have everything to do with, getting us through our own strife and our own crisis, because we are not alone in the universe. We have loving, conscious beings who support us, who want us to be healed. They want us to be happy. They want us to be fulfilled and in our truth and in our light and finding the pathway to greater peace and joy. And I believe Jesus is just one of many beings in a galactic community who are all out there sharing this time with us. Because again, I believe that not all UFOs are evil. Some of them may be. They definitely are. But there's also good guys out there. There's good guys in the universe. And so we want to honor and celebrate that. And also just respect the fact that, yes, the Casey readings did say that Jesus is our elder brother. This was one of the clues he gave, where they also said Jesus is the pattern. Jesus is something we're all going to be following. We follow this festival of Ascension like today is all about, Easter is about going through those personality changes that are required to become Ascension compatible. How are you going to make it? How are you going to get to those higher levels? Judy Booth donated $20. Happy Easter, God bless, she says. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciative that all you guys are helping me out today with donations. We need them. And anyway, we're up to 1,700 viewers. I'm surprised that we're doing that well considering it's on Easter, but I guess a lot of people here, wanted to spend time with me today. And so I'm glad that you're here. Thank you all for being here. It's a pretty great turnout considering, what we did. That was last minute. I only announced it last night. But you guys know now that, we're definitely looking at this from a positive perspective. So anyway, Yes, hit the like button. That's a good thing. J-Bo says he's sick and tired of long suffering. Well, I get it. But, there's a lot to be grateful for. There's a lot to be positive about. And I do think that we are going through some type of healing process. I do not expect that it's going to stay this scary for so long. Manny Figueroa donated. He says, pray for soldiers and civilians in harm's way. Absolutely. The pink shirt looks good. It's great contrast with your background. Thank you very much. That's Creative Nature Girl. So yes, the Casey reading said Jesus is our elder brother in our pathway of ascension. And again, part of what this means is tying back to the great quote, John 14:12, as I do these things, which is really talking about the miracles that he was doing, so shall you do them, and greater things, for I go unto my Father, Mother God, if we paraphrase what the original Aramaic actually said. Father, Mother God is the real way to go about this accurately and correctly. So Ron J. Horton donated $50. He lives within us. Thanks, David. Thank you very much, Ron. I have such great respect for Jesus, such great respect for the Christ, such great respect for this holiday. It is a true honor to be here with you today talking about this. So let's get into something new here. This is a quote from Edgar Casey's reading, 262-103. It's beautiful for Easter. And so we're going to do an extended quote on this because it's really nice. And it gets into the bigger message that all these beings, higher consciousness, want to share with us. Not only 2,000 years ago, but today, he may be born in your own consciousness, your own understanding. He comes to his own. And here I would just say, take the he as also being Father, Mother, God. It's however you choose to see the higher consciousness, it's fine. It's just that this Casey reading does use the masculine gender, but this is a pretty good one. And we're going to have a lot more fun for you, so let's just keep it going. He comes to his own. Are you his? Have you claimed him? Have you put on the Christ, even as was and is exemplified in that life, that birth, that death of Jesus the Christ? So right away, the Casey source is putting the onus back on the reader. Have you put on the higher consciousness? Have you embodied what these teachings were really about? He is your elder brother. He's giving you a sense of direction on where he wants you to go. What does he want you to do? How does he want you to feel? How does he want you to believe? Isn't that cool? That we can take on that mantle of Christ and we can embody that consciousness. I mean, for me, this is really great stuff. And anyway, it's really cool. So let's keep going. For he is your elder brother. He is the babe in your heart, in your life. Again, this is the galactic mind. To be then, even now, as then, nourished in the heart, in the body, and in the mind. So that's part of the quote here. It's going to go on from there. But there's really good stuff in here. If you think about it, the Christ being your elder brother, that concept really adds a lot of weight to the Ascension, to this festival of Ascension that we're in today. Because if he's your elder brother and he says, as I do these things, so shall you do them, and greater things, then wow. Maybe that means that I also, or you also, will be able to gain this ascended ability. If he's your elder brother, he's the pattern, he's the path. And this is, again, a very esoteric concept that you do get it in Christianity with the rapture, but a lot of times that seems to be more of an extreme fringe view that maybe a lot of Christians don't really ascribe to. But yes, I do believe in it, and I think that it's something that really will happen here on Earth in its own way. Now, it might not be exactly how we expect. The Law of One series, which again I hold in very high esteem, says that it could take 100 to 700 years for us to transition in this. However, we may get a first wave where there is some type of consciousness activation. The Virgin Mary Garabandal prophecies from 1961 to 1964, these were happening, strongly imply that there's going to be some type of initial activation of cosmic consciousness where nobody on Earth can deny that this happened. Then they say it only lasts for like a day and everybody goes back to the way they were. And they start saying, oh, it was caused by a solar flare or caused by some type of, weird electromagnetic phenomenon that we can't explain. Well, if this is what ends up happening, it's going to be really, really cool. And I do believe these types of events are triggered by geopolitical and other events on the planet. That's one of the things the Law of One talks about and stresses, is the holographic relationship that we have between what's going on the surface of the Earth and what's going on cosmologically. Therefore, as various pieces of information come to light, as various events transpire, I think that we get openings of cosmic consciousness. I do believe that is part of what we're talking about here, and that's a good thing. So Beverly Adams says, we are the medbeds. That's right. So anyway, there's really good stuff going on here, and it's a great time. Thank you guys for being here. And so Jesus is your elder brother. This is a really fascinating concept. He is the babe in your heart, in your life, to be then even now, nourished in your heart, body, and mind. And then this is really where it gets into. This is very, very, some people might think this is controversial, but this is straight out of Edgar Cayce. For as you behold the face of your friend, of your neighbor, of your foe, yes, even your enemy, you behold the image of your Savior. Wow. That's a very intense, kind of heavy-duty statement that we can take that and say, yeah, it's okay to look at everyone as the one infinite creator. We're all one. We're all unified. So even our enemies are ultimately saving us and bringing us through transfiguration. That's a very provocative statement that you're really not going to see in too many other places. We are consciousness acting as people, says 11, call in 11. That's interesting. So, yeah, when you look at those types of passages, that he's your elder brother, that we're all one, we're all embodying this consciousness, we have a safety. We realize that this world is safer than we think. We're not living in fear and disaster and pain anymore. We're living in truth and love and combined consciousness that is what Christ is ultimately about. It's unification. The idea that we're unifying into a higher consciousness, we're unifying into a greater whole. That's what I really, really love. And so, love thine enemy as thyself. That's absolutely right. And there's a lot of good things there, a lot of good things that we can see here. So, yes, even your enemy, you are beholding the image of your Savior. We could go on about that at great length. For you are all his and hers, brought not only with the birth of the God-child into flesh, but with the death, that you might know that he, your brother, your Savior, your Christ, has been and is the way to the Father, Mother, in this material plane. And again, the logoic consciousness of Christ is the galactic mind. This is the way to the Father, Mother. This is the way to achieving ascension, to achieving cosmic consciousness, to raising our collective vibration, to getting into a higher state of beingness. This comes about through accessing the pure energy of love. We're not going to get there if we don't embody that logoic loving consciousness, the logos, again, being the embodiment of pure love. We're edging up towards 2,000 viewers here. We're at 1,846 now. Hopefully we'll get to 2,000 pretty soon. We're only at the 33-minute mark. That's pretty awesome, you guys. Thanks for showing up. So Jesus is your elder brother, and even when you look at the face of your enemy, you are seeing your Savior. May not seem that way, but this is a very helpful teaching as we're going through all this right now, that the actual, the war itself, the enemy that we're facing, is going to transform this planet, that this whole situation, I don't believe that the world is designed for us to stay in something so scary and negative for very long. I do believe that we get through these things with flying colors, that we come out on the other side. We're not stuck here forever. We move in beautiful steps, step by step, going through our activation, going through our cosmic consciousness, going through our awakening, getting to this higher plane of existence. This is what life is really about. And so the Christ is here for you. The Christ is your source of activation that will get you to that higher level, get you to that plane of existence. So let's again just take a look at this real quick and see how beautiful this is, that, we have this activation of the Father, Mother, God, that this is your Savior, your Christ, is coming about through this process. It's quite amazing how that happens and the way in which we're transformed by our own hard work. As we work on embodying these principles of Christ, they pay off. And that's what Ascension is really about, is the final payoff for all the hard work that we do in forgiveness and compassion, and patience and love, and working through the difficulties that our lives present us with, getting to that higher consciousness, getting to that state of joyful reunion with the Logos, with the Christ, with the oneness. As we go through that process, we are being reborn. We are being resurrected. It happens every day. There is a resurrection taking place all the time as we learn to live in a greater state of peace and embodied oneness consciousness. So let's be grateful that we have this available to us, because the Christ is here for us and we are able to, enjoy that. So Vak Apollo just donated. Thank you very much. Let's make sure I didn't miss any of them. No, so far I haven't. Thank you guys very much. Tell them about the sun, David, somebody says. Well, we're all doing our thing here, and it's a positive thing to be here today. It's a positive thing to be a part of this universe, to be a part of when we were all able to live together in peace and harmony and unity. Long ago, we had a golden age, and that's going to be coming back. So that's what the prophecies tell us. And I really do think that it's going to be coming back full steam ahead in a way that we just have never seen before. And, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're very, very much embodied in that ascension consciousness. Manny Figueroa says, I love Nino Rodriguez. Are you guys close friends? Well, I don't know if we're close friends, but we've definitely spent time talking on the phone. I really like the guy. I think he's a great person. So yes, I would consider him to be a good friend. And I'm happy that we have been able to connect in the past. Anyway, Ascension is not just for kids, man. This is a very grown-up thing that we're all going through, and it has its ups and downs. It has its strifes. It has its turmoils. But I believe that with Jesus being our elder brother, again, even your enemy is giving you the image of your Savior, and you are all part of this galactic consciousness, which paves the way back to the Father, Mother, God. Let's read a little bit more of this. For as he chose to enter, so you have entered. And as he chose to live, so may you live. As he chose to give of himself, that there might be a greater understanding, a greater knowledge, showing forth the wisdom of God, that God is love, poured forth upon the children of humanity. Isn't that beautiful? This is about as poetic as the Casey readings ever get. I really love this passage. As he chose to enter, so you have entered. As he chose to live, so may you live. I mean, this is really, really high-octane spiritual teaching. And we got a lot more coming up here. We're going to be reading quotes from the Bible and other sources again, talking about Ascension. We're going to be reading about the latest disclosure news that's coming in. We're going to review again the idea of angelic beings and how they factor into everything. It's a very exciting time. And so I'm very grateful that we're here today working on this together. God is love, the wisdom of God. Isn't that cool? And that's really where it comes to. So this is a huge sentence, right? And as these changes come, and as you make known that there has been the raising of that consciousness of his presence in your experience, by your conversation with, by your dealings with, by your life with your fellow humans, so may you hasten the day when he, Christ, may come into your own heart, unto his own peoples to reign. Well, yes, this is a prophecy about mass ascension. Mass ascension really is not going to happen until we start embodying the principles of Christ and living by those principles. If we can accept those teachings, embrace those teachings, live by those teachings, that's really where the decision is made and we get to a new level. So J. Teffer Thriller says, much love, David. I've been told I have a connection to Luke. Wish you the best and thank you for your service. Thank you, J. Teffer. So, you know, this is something that we all do want to live in love. We want to live in that higher consciousness. We want to live in the glory of this true activation that happens when you, again, have that presence in your experience by your conversations and dealings with fellow humans. This is the really core of the message. The Law of One says the same thing. It's how we interact with other people. It's the raising of that consciousness. It's being loving. I always try to do this. When I'm out there in public, I'm always trying to be grateful to those people who I work with. If I go to the store, if I buy things, try to have that Christ consciousness activated so you can hasten the day when the Christ consciousness returns to the people to reign. Yes, in the hearts and the lives, it says. That is the ascension. That's what we're really talking about. We co-create this process. We don't know when it's going to happen, but I do believe that it will. And I believe that as we go through difficult events on earth, it is a metaphorical equivalent of a crucifixion that the earth itself is experiencing. And we even talked about the concept of the events of 2020 and how those events correlate with the crucifixion. You have needles, which would be symbolized by the spikes in the hands and the feet. You have the crown of thorns, again, needles going in. And then you also have the spear of Longinus that pierced Jesus on his side when they tested him to see if he was actually no longer alive on the cross. And that was one of the final indignities that his body suffered before they took him down. But again, these are all like jabs and pokes and prods, and it's interesting in light of the fact that the crown is called a corona. And so, what's that all about? We had this whole situation unfold in the past, and you got to wonder, was this a tailor-made message that he came in to deliver to us about what was going to happen in our future, that this would be all part of our cosmic crucifixion, which we're still undergoing. We're still undergoing the after effects of this. We still have unanswered questions and people wondering what that was really about, and lots of things. So here we have Lisa Dawn Marble, who again has said, "Brave David, your sharing and describing of personal crises and how you handle them is your most engaging, life-helping, and interesting of all the things you say. Santa Rosa, Northern California." Thank you, Lisa Dawn. And yes, I will share some of my own struggles today as well. But some people like it and some people don't. So it's just one of those things. But yes, I have struggled with the ability to remain positive. It's not easy. We have so many things that are of concern right now. It's easy to get worried. It's easy to not know what the outcome will be. And yes, the crown. The crown is very important. Corona in Spanish means crow. I didn't know that. But again, you know, think about, well, you know what I'm talking. Oh, we just crossed 2,000 viewers. That's great. At the 43-minute mark, we're now up to 2,000 viewers. That's awesome. And again, thank you guys so much for the live chat donations, the super chat donations. We do need those, and I really appreciate that. We also have at various times others who have shown up in the past, like Sunflower Life, and hopefully they'll all show up today. But yeah, so I've been through it myself. You know, the weather is finally starting to calm down here. We're finally starting to get more decent weather. But even this past week, we had the weather just plunge to ridiculously cold temperatures and then come back up again. And I'm freezing. So it's not easy. It's not easy to be here on the high mountain. And, you know, that's my journey. But it's okay because I'm working on it, and we're working on getting the launch ready for you guys and getting the house sold hopefully at some point. All these things can happen. So not going to be this way forever. Anyway, again, the idea that Jesus is your elder brother, the Christ consciousness is our source, and it's a very positive thing that we have this. There's a lot more we're going to get into. I'm just opening up with an Easter theme, so if you want to get beyond just Bible-oriented stuff, hang in there. We're only going to do this a little while longer. But I did want to get into some of this to honor the people who are Christian on Easter. And then it says, and today he may be born into your consciousness, not as a physical birth, but each moment that a physical birth is experienced in the earth is another opportunity for the Christ entrance again. Isn't that interesting? Every time that a baby is born, there's another opportunity for the Christ to enter, because we're all the Christ. We're all integrated in this unified awareness, this unified consciousness, which is pretty freaking cool. So yes, the Christ can be born into your consciousness today, and what a great day to do that, the Easter Sunday, the Festival of Ascension. Feeling that unity with this higher consciousness, feeling the unity with who and what we really are, and being confident enough to move forward and to take bold and brave steps to live that way and to feel that resonance. So this is where it's going. This is where it's about. And remember, Jesus also cast out demons. And so part of what the Christ's job is to do is to identify negative forces and to combat them. And those negative forces, at least you could think of it metaphorically, that they are personified in the psyche as the voices of doubt, the voices of fear, the voices of negativity and hatred and sarcasm and skepticism against the idea that we're going to be okay, skepticism against whether things are going to work out, skepticism about whether we'll have a miracle happen or not. And so we can learn to move beyond those feelings of limitation, those feelings of doubt. We can learn to have that Christ of faith and that Christ of love be born into our consciousness so that we feel more trust and more compassion and more love in every moment. Every moment it can happen. Then what are you doing about it in your daily life, your daily conversations? For not by might, nor in power, but in the still small, I probably should have made that yellow, in the still small voice that speaks within, you may know as he has given so oft, peace, it is I. Be not afraid, it is I, your Savior, your Christ. There you go. It is a small voice that speaks within. The still small voice. The Casey reading is saying here that there is a voice of Christ, that it is accessible within each one of us if we choose to listen, if we choose to be an embodiment of glory, an embodiment of love, an embodiment of peace. We can feel that resonance. We can feel that Christ consciousness embodying in our minds, and we can hear, if you meditate deeply, if you tune in, you can hear that voice speaking to you. And this is a very important thing that, again, I don't think you're going to get that in traditional religion. But what were the scriptures really about, you know? It's the voice of God, okay, it's the word of God. Religions will say that. But it was written by human beings. I think all the authors of the books of the Bible are men, unfortunately, but, you know, maybe there's a Gospel of Mary Magdalene, right? But that's in the apocryphal texts. It isn't part of the canonized Judeo-Christian Bible that we would see in, for example, the King James Version. So yeah, Mary Magdalene did write her own book. I'm not sure if anybody else did. Can anybody think of any other book in the Bible that had a woman that wrote it? I don't think there is, unless I'm wrong. Maybe there is another one, but anyway, reading your comments here, and you guys are all listening very intensely. Oh, Ruth, Esther, and Judith. Okay, great, says Vacapalo. So there are some in the Old Testament, I guess. And that's good. Thank you for clarifying that. Wade Woodruff says Sophia. Yeah, so the feminine wasn't completely excluded. Oh, Deborah in Judges too. Ruth, Esther, and Deborah in Judges, says Manny Figueroa. Good to know. Film Wizard asks, is there a financial collapse happening? I hope if there is something like that going on, I hope it doesn't get too bad, and I hope we can move through it peacefully and with grace and without a whole lot of suffering. Definitely the economy has gotten worse, and that's why we really need to hopefully get through this war as quickly as possible and not have it drag on, because if the fuel supplies are interrupted for very long, it is going to make things even more difficult. Then they're not, we're not dealing with that. So anyway, what are you doing about it in your daily life, your daily conversation? I mean, this is the core of the message right here. This is really the core of the message. It is not by might or power. It doesn't happen in a mighty voice. It's a still small voice that says, peace, it is I. Be not afraid, it is I. Your Savior, your Christ. Yes, yourself, meeting that babe in your own inner self that may grow even as he to become a channel of blessings to others. So yes, this is really, really stressing that the Christ is within. There is a Christ consciousness within all of us. It is who we really are in our core. It's the center of what we really are in our being. And, that's where we go back to a true divine source-oriented consciousness, is understanding these truths, understanding the peace, understanding that we are embodiments of love, that we are embodiments of this galactic mind that has taken form in the Christ and in us. Even in your enemy, you see your Savior. That's a very powerful message, because as we go through these turmoils and these tribulations, that's obviously we're in some type of tribulation here. Obviously, we're going through something that is thankfully not catastrophic earth changes, thankfully not the end of the world. But yes, we're afraid of war. We're afraid of, nuclear exchange. That could happen. Hopefully it won't. We're afraid of this thing escalating and bigger powers stepping in. We're going to pray again for peace. That is not happening. And, we got to do our best to try to be a positive role for how this is all unfolding. That's my job, as far as I can see right now, is to just hold an anchor in light, anchor in positivity, anchor in what I believe is a positive thing, because we can be channels of blessings to others. We know about the meditation effect. We know that when 7,000 people get together and meditate, that global crime, terrorism, war deaths, fatalities, drug addictions, overdoses, all these things significantly decrease by as much as 3 out of 4, 72% was the highest number they got out of this. 72% reduction in all those things. Wow. That's huge. When you think about how powerful that is, and we're almost at 2,100 viewers now, so thank you for being here. But when we look at how intensely that benefits the planet, that meditation effect is there, 2,000 people, as we continue anchoring in, this is our global meditation. The whole show is the meditation. That's the secret I always tell you. We're not just waiting for the end of the show. A lot of people, we get about 300 or so that always leave anyway when we're doing the global meditation. But as I discuss these concepts with you, as I discuss this concept of higher consciousness, this concept of the galactic mind, this concept of intelligent infinity, we are really transforming ourselves. We are becoming some new type of human. This is the Ascension. And we are in the festival of Ascension right now. We're in that glorious time where we celebrate rising to our potential. And so, yes, by being a channel of blessing to others, you are engaging in the daily conversations, being positive, and then hearing that voice of the inner Christ. So this is very potent spiritual teaching. It's very relevant to who we are and what's going on, because things continue to go through very intense cycles of change. The things in the world are very, very intense right now. And to put it mildly, again, we are going through a cosmic crucifixion. And, somebody did troll me about this in the comments of the X page, but it is true. You can laugh at that and say, oh, what do you mean cosmic crucifixion? No, this is a very specific thing in which I believe that Jesus, not all the messages that he intended for us to get were in the Bible. In other words, some of them are symbolic and metaphorical, and although the writers of the Gospels did a great job, you can't expect that they got everything right. You can't expect that every single thing that this galactic mind wanted you to know was put down in writing exactly the way it was supposed to be. Dreams, Jesus often speaks in parables, right? The idea of a parable is it's a dreamlike metaphor that you have to decipher and decode for yourself. You don't necessarily understand what the message is. You don't necessarily get the point right off the bat. Dreams speak in symbolic terms. Again, there could be symbolism that wasn't uncoded until 2020 about the nails in the hands and feet and the crown of thorns, the corona, the spear. You know, these are very powerful. Oh, and also the bride and the bridegroom, the concept of the corona also being like a solar eclipse, and then the wedding ring of the bride and the bridegroom, that corona is also representative of the solar eclipse, which represents a conjunction, an alignment. And Jesus' teachings are consistent with those of 35 other ancient religious prophecies around the world, suggesting there is a 25,000-year cycle, and at the end of the cycle, we're going to go through some type of planetary ascension process. Now, how does this come about? How does it happen? We don't really know, but we have clues. The clues are out there. And when in Sedona says, David, are you healthy? Message me for a food delivery gift if necessary, says Rob. Well, thank you, Rob, for that. He donated as well. Appreciate that. Let's make sure I didn't miss any other donations. No, we're good. So yes, I'm doing fine. Everything's fine. I did get a little bit of eye irritation from, I don't know what. Maybe it was the wind when I was out walking, or I rubbed my eye funny over here, but there's been a little bit of redness on that side. You can probably see it. There's really nothing I can do about it. Tony says he lost audio. I don't think anybody else has. Hopefully not. But that can happen sometimes. If anything weird happens, just refresh your browser, log back in again, and you should be fine. Oh. Frequency says, I keep a dream journal. Last night's dream was so clear, had many wonderful symbolisms that I'm still digesting. That's right. Click the like button because we have 2,000 people watching. Thank you very much. Allergens are in the air big time. Yes, that's a very good point. So, yeah, I think allergens definitely are part of what I'm dealing with here. Anyway, it's a really great time to be alive. Somebody did troll me about this idea of going through a cosmic crucifixion. But you know what? It's true. We're all going through this together. We're all having an activation of our own ascension process. We're all having that initiation that is the ordeal. There's an ordeal involved in crucifixion. It's not easy. It's a horrific process where you're up there hanging and dying and bleeding. And, you know, this is a very, I mean, the whole story of Good Friday and Jesus being crucified, it's gory, it's horrific. And remember, he's up there for 3 days, right? Because Friday is when it starts, and he doesn't come down until Sunday when he's resurrected. Or no, actually, Friday is when I believe when he dies on the cross. And then he spends, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's true. Does he spend 3 days in the tomb? Or how does that work? You guys might know better than me. But anyway, it's a very valuable thing for us to be in embodiment here on earth, living in our truth, living in this light, this love, this resonance of being part of the higher consciousness, of letting that consciousness live through us. The Casey reading said it so well. He is your elder brother. It's how you treat other people. It's finding that still small voice within you, finding that babe in your own heart, and living in that consciousness, living in that truth. So yes, we are going through a cosmic crucifixion. It's not meant to be like this forever. I don't believe that the world is going to be like this forever. Yeah, and there's trolls that say, oh my God, you know, how can you analogize what we're going through with crucifixion? Well, it's very scary. We're going through intense ordeals and upheavals and negativity and fear and not knowing how things are going to work out, not knowing exactly what's going on. I do believe that, yes, indeed, we are going through the hero's journey on a global level. This is a very important part of understanding what's happening. The hero's journey, again, so significant in our understanding, so significant to getting to the core of what's really happening to us and what is this all really about and who are we and why are we here. The hero is representative of Christ, but it's also representative of all of us. And it's a story that we all embody, where there is a being who has flaws. And, you know, Jesus did have flaws up until he said, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do, and accepted his fate. When he was saying, let this cup pass from me, that would still be a flaw. He wasn't ready to accept the full initiation of actually accepting his own death. And Joseph Yanni, thank you for the donation. 30 practical tips of living the golden rule. Great way to live like Christ every day. So when he said, forgive them for they know not what they do, and he accepted this fate, he accepted his own demise, accepted his own death, therein lay the completion of his hero's journey. The acceptance of the process caused the transfiguration to occur, and he comes back and he is restored and renewed. That's right. You know you've passed when you can say that. Forgive them, they know not what they're doing. That's right. So Caleb Birch came in with the win here. He says he died Friday. He spent Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday morning in the tomb. So every part of a day is considered a day in the Hebrew tradition at that time. All right. So anyway, we're going through a global process that is very intense, very stressful, not for the weak of heart, not for the weak of mind. This is the grown-ups class, man. And it is Ascension all the way. We are learning how to become more embodied as galactic mind, as galactic consciousness. And that doesn't come through living a nice, easy life. It comes through stress and turmoil and hardship. And so there is a lot going on out there that we need to pay attention to. And one of the things that we're going through right now is disclosure. Disclosure is actually happening. And official disclosure continues to heat up. And it started again back on Thursday, February 19th, when the release of all UFO-related files was ordered based upon the tremendous interest that is shown. That he would be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin, as I always like to point out, the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, and unidentified flying objects, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. Well, again, even if you don't have a whole lot of enthusiasm, and I know that there's dissension out there, of course, there always is, this is something I think everybody should be able to get behind because it is just really, really exciting. And we hope that there's not going to be too much spin on it. But we got a big, big clue, as I said last week, where the vice president brings up the demonic element and said that extraterrestrials would be demons in disguise causing mischief. That's what the general said. And again, this is why it's so easily misconstrued. I wanted to read it to you one more time. Because at one point, he says, I don't think they're aliens, I think they're demons. Have you ever seen Benny in a suit and tie before, by the way? I don't mean to troll him. I think he's a really funny guy, and I like what he has to say. But I've never seen him on his own show dress up like this. So it's pretty cool to see him in a suit and tie. I got to say that. And I guess somebody said he just had Dr. Greer on his show. That's interesting. It's really heating up. Okay, so anyway, this was a graphic that somebody put around where you got the modern gray alien on the left and then Aleister Crowley's entity that showed up for him. It's not really a demon per se, but it was called Lam or Iwas. And apparently it quoted and said, they call us angels and demons today. Tomorrow they will call us something else. Well, there you go. So anyway, apparently Crowley did bring this entity in, and it gave him instructions on various protocols of magic. And it's those protocols that actually bring about the sighting of entities that might be what we're now talking about here, starting with a D. So, yeah, there's positive and negative beings in the universe. That's my point. The negative beings do appear to exist in the Earth's lower astral planes. They have thought form identities, but they don't necessarily materialize physically in most cases unless they have the authorization of humans to do so. And back in the time of Roman Carthage, apparently a large group of people could all see them at once if they did these public ceremonies. Maybe that can still happen with larger groups of people. I don't know, but we're definitely not seeing it in any open way. Jesus coming here bound the demonic, bound it away from conventional view. so that it only occurs under very unique circumstances, not the likes of which what we usually have. And so, you know, we definitely are going to do a global meditation. But we're in the middle of this right now, and we're talking about this content. So anyway, yeah, it's one of the things that we introduced. I introduced it into the zeitgeist, the idea that Lam looks a lot like a gray, but with smaller eyes. It's pretty weird. I don't know if you could really call him a demon per se. He's an extraterrestrial with a physical flesh and blood body that, you know, can crash in a disk and then can be recovered. Whereas demons don't really exist that way. They're more ephemeral. This is what I've heard from various insiders. Demons are more ephemeral. They don't really exist in tangible physical form as much. So you got to get into some clarifications about how this all really works, and, you know, what are we really seeing here? But you know, there's a lot of good in the universe too, and that's my point. I believe that, yes, these grays can be very evil and destructive. And so what do you want to call them? I mean, I guess you could say they're demonic, but when you're getting into splitting hairs here, it's more like a thought form entity from the astral plane, is my understanding at least. So anyway, the vice president here quips on the existence of aliens and says that they are demons. This is very significant, because at least you would think he's partially tipped off on what's going to be said in the future, at least to some degree. Asked by podcaster Benny Johnson about releasing so-called UFO files, the vice president veered into his belief that rather than visitors from another planet, is supernatural forces at play. And anyway, he says, I don't think they're aliens, I think they're demons. The Christian understanding is that there's a lot of good out there, but there's also evil out there. I think that one of the devil's great tricks is to convince people he never existed. So again, getting to the point that there is a lot of good out there in the Christian understanding, by implication, he's saying there's also positive beings, I would think, in some form or another. Now, maybe he's not ready to make that claim publicly without being indirect like that. But this is where, again, it got misconstrued, in my opinion. Yep, Rockety Rocket, Namaste, David. What are we to make of Matt Gaetz's disclosure of alien hybrid breeding programs? Is this part of the plan? Is he a white hat? Well, again, the term white hat, you know, sounds like KKK, so we don't really want to use that term. But yes, we're going to talk about Gaetz in a minute. I'll get into all that stuff. So again, he does say there's a lot of good out there, and I think we need to remember that, because out there could mean outer space. We'll talk about that a little more today. One of the devil's great tricks, convincing people he never existed. Then this is another quote that comes from the same interview. Every great world religion, including Christianity, the one I believe in, has understood there are weird things out there, things that are very difficult to explain. There you go. So Christianity has weird things that would include angelic beings as well. I naturally go, when I hear about extranatural phenomena, the Christian understanding that there's a lot of good out there, but there's also some evil out there. He says it twice. He says it twice. Some evil, but a lot of good, when he hears about extranatural phenomena. So I just wanted to bring that up again so that we keep reminding you that, yes, he did not blanket say that everything is evil, but that's how it's been misconstrued, to try to make him look like a kook or a crank or something like this. Then it points out again that the White House registered the domain names alien and aliens.gov earlier this month, drawing speculation information might be released in the near future. And he did quote the classic Winston Churchill quote that we'll bring up again, which really has a great deal of resonance. The devil's great power is to make us believe that he doesn't exist. So there's a lot of resonance in there, because wait a minute, what do you mean the devil exists? What is that about? Well, yeah, there's good and evil in the universe. And so in this Festival of Ascension that we're in now, David, can you have an episode on the Ethiopian Bible? I do want to get into that at some point. Yeah, that's something I need to be studying. So again, there is a good and evil. There is a positive and negative in the universe, and learning this is going to be part of our growing up process, and we need to be ready for that. And I think that I'm doing my part to help prepare people for that eventuality, so that it's not going to be as jarring when it does happen. if the devil is real, if the devil does exist, he doesn't want you to know. So getting to that point where we understand that there are actually multidimensional negative forces out there, that they do exist, that they have real corporeal form, and that, it might not be a demon per se, but it could be definitely, in law of one terms, a negative entity, a negatively polarized being, and they can, in fact, interact with the demonic realms. And they can teach us how to do that as well. That's not something you want to play around with, man. I mean, these are very scary things, but we have heard that those who practice these ceremonies can develop magical abilities that would be supernatural, including supernatural healing capability, supernatural mind, capabilities, various things, mind reading, time travel, where they apparently can go into the past and inhabit someone else's body in the past and change the timeline. We've heard about that kind of stuff, which was very much portrayed in The Matrix, where the agents can jump into anybody in the Matrix and embody in them. That's kind of an idea there. The idea, some whistleblowers talked about this, that if there's somebody who's very weak-minded, like a bum passed out in a haystack from drinking, somebody could potentially go back in time and inhabit him and time travel and get things to happen that might change the timeline, such as, for example, knocking somebody off who wouldn't have been knocked off in the past otherwise. And if the timeline changes, and the only person who remembers the old timeline is the one who actually did the edit, supposedly. So this is really weird stuff. It's a whole other tradition. It's a whole other culture that we really don't know anything about. We're learning about it as time goes on. But again, I want to focus on the positive. I want to focus on the loving Christ presence, because to acknowledge that evil exists without acknowledging the goodness of something like Christ, without acknowledging the shroud of Turin, the levitation, it's pretty powerful. Kelly Martin says, the fear and anxiety paralyze us against action to do the opposite, make alternative systems. No one is coming to save us, not a president or a guru. Only our contrary actions to evil will save us. Well, I think that we're definitely doing that, and we're working on that together. I'm trying my hardest to give you guys a positive message and to keep you with hope and inspiration, uplifting things. So, yes, and I'm very grateful for all that we have here. We're at almost 2,200 viewers now. Thank you guys for being here. We're an hour and 12 minutes in. And so, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. Thank you again for being here. So, fear is a quality of the third density, says Rob Hip Sky. That is true. Jesus is a pure embodiment of love, but he still did get angry at times, so we can get there as well. That's right. So I'm really grateful that you guys are here today. Thank you for being here today. And again, we have one more quote from Vance on this that we read last time, but he thinks that they're not aliens, that they're demons. He admits he obsesses over them. This was in People magazine, which is certainly not going to be sympathetic. When I came in, I was obsessed with the UFO files. He says it's funny. And then you start getting really busy worrying about the economy, national security, things like that, he continued. But I've still got 3 more years as vice president. I will get to the bottom of the UFO files. Despite his admitted obsession with UFOs, he told Johnson he has not peaked at Area 51, referring to rumors about a classified U.S. Air Force facility in the Nevada desert, or looked into other UFO-related conspiracy theories, but vowed that he is going to get to the bottom of it. I have not been able to spend enough time on this to really understand it, but I am going to. Trust me, I'm obsessed with this, he said. I've already had a couple of times where I'm like, we're going to Area 51, we're going out to New Mexico, we're going to get to the bottom of this. The timing of the trip just didn't work out. Well, again, I would do anything to go over there, so I would make sure the trip worked out, but I'm a UFO guy. Trust me, anybody who's curious about this, I'm more curious than anybody, he continued. And I've got 3 years at the very tippy top of the classification. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. Okay, well, tippy top may not be what you get when you're the president. That's one of the infuriating things we were told by people in the legacy program, as they're now calling it, that there is a 35 levels above the President of the United States classification called Cosmic Top Secret, and you don't get to share that with the president or the vice president. That's why they're kind of kept in the dark. They're only there for 4 to 8 years. And then somebody else comes in. You don't want them to be able to be captured, interrogated, tortured, mean, God forbid that would ever happen, but when you're thinking in these programs, you have to think that way, that what if somebody forces him to talk? Do we want him to know the truth or not? So it seems like there's a very difficult thing going on in terms of getting disclosure out into the masses. And for the whole time that we're here, we're looking at how we can be better stewards of the earth. How can we be better stewards of each other? And I think that disclosure will help, because I think that we're going to learn things about ourselves that we didn't already know. And it will be fascinating. And it will be, we'll be able to go to the next level and take ourselves to a higher realm by embodying the Christ. Just like the Casey reading said, we learn to embody that example that was given to us by that ultimate sacrifice. I mean, it's so wild. The Christ story is so intense. The crucifixion death is just such a horrible way to go. And then to have this beautiful resurrection take place. What an amazing story. What an amazing gift we were given. And it's about us. It's about our ascension. It's about how we redefine ourselves by being more loving, being more spiritual, being more positive, and taking that under advisement and becoming more of a steward of the earth in a positive way. This is what it's really about to me. So we had more disclosure news this week, and somebody already asked me about that. It was again on the Benny Johnson Show. March 31st, Tuesday, Representative Matt Gaetz leaks data on extraterrestrial interbreeding. Yeah, this was very, very bizarre. So we're going to dig into this one as well, but this is definitely nothing new. It's just very fascinating. You know, there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that say, oh, UFOs, ha, ha, ha. You guys are idiots. You guys are fools. This is all snake oil. It's all, Well, now we've got government officials telling us that, yes, this whole concept that we heard about with the Greys, I mean, like, what were the Greys doing? They were abducting people, right? The alien abduction phenomenon. And then when you get abducted, they take genetic samples. And if you go back to classic UFO books in the literature that were written by various researchers, even Dr. John Mack, Timothy Good, various others, we hear about the idea that people who were abducted were then shown hybrid children that they had created, that the extraterrestrials had created with their DNA, and that this was some type of interbreeding going on. Well, that is a canonical aspect of the UFO doctrine, if you will. If you read these books and if you've studied this all along, it's been out there for a long time, but never before quite like this. This is really, really weird and fascinating. And you can see the looks on Benny's face as he's going through this. He is genuinely shocked. So this is what it says. Matt Gaetz said on the Benny Show that a uniformed official briefed him about an alleged secret hybrid breeding program in which captured aliens were supposedly breeding with humans to create a hybrid race. Captured aliens. That they were already being held in these facilities. They were already there in captivity of some kind, and yet they're creating this hybrid race. It's just so weird, right? Like, wow, what is going on here? He said, quote, I had someone come and brief me who was in a military uniform, worked for the United States Army, on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured extraterrestrials were breeding with humans to create a hybrid race to engage in, wait for it, intergalactic communication. Well, this obviously raises a very important question, which is what would they actually be communicating about? What is the intergalactic communication? Which is never actually explained. However, it suggests the possibility of ongoing interactions, that perhaps creating these hybrid beings is a way for them to use a wireless telepathic type of communication so that they don't have to have any signals that could be intercepted by any other means available to us. Any other type of technology they might use besides a psychic type of process perhaps could be intercepted. But this really doesn't sound good. This doesn't sound like a positive thing per se. I don't believe that this is actually a positive thing. This is probably part of the shadowy, dark side of things that we're going to learn. But again, remember, there is a Christ, there is a path to healing, there is a path to ascension, and that's what really is important. So We're going to read now from this article, which is him being briefed on the hybrid race mixing humans and ETs, March 31st. So this just happened this past week. It was on Newsweek, as you can see here. The military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans who had been abducted out of war zones and even out of the caravans of migrants, he said. Well, guess what? I talked a very long time ago about the idea of, insiders told me this back in 2010, that migrant caravans do get people stolen out of them and brought into these secret programs. This is not uncommon. In fact, sometimes entire buses of people are driven into underground bases and they all end up becoming workers or something worse. You know, various things that could happen in these underground facilities. You never come to the surface again. War zone would be another place where people could disappear and you wouldn't notice anything. So yeah, this is admittedly very creepy, but part of what I like to do is share with you the news of the UFO community, the zeitgeist of what's going on, and try to make it a little less scary if at all possible. Happy Easter, Patricia Moran says. God bless you in the work you do. Thank you very much, Patricia. Thank you for donating. Really, really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are here today. I mean, 2,150, we're almost at 2,200 viewers now, which is great. And so thank you all for being here. I really do very, very much appreciate your love and your healing and your support. So, yes, some of what we deal with is very dark and very negative, and I don't want to get into all that right now. But yes, people do get abducted for various reasons. Migrant caravans are a big part of that. War zones are another part of that. And then that these extraterrestrials were actually being forced to do this. That's very strange, isn't it? But somehow these entities, the hybrids were used for communication. Let's read this a little more. Now, I didn't verify this, but the whistleblower told me that there were between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this was happening. That means migrants are being abducted. That means people are being forced into breeding with extraterrestrials. Wow. And what he wanted was members of Congress to all show up at the same time at all of these 6 to 12 different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved like a sting. Well, he goes on to laugh and say, you know, good luck with that. Nobody's ever going to be able to coordinate something like that. And of course, they would see it coming. They have intelligence. They wouldn't leave everything out in the open. But this is a very strange aspect of things, showing that there are government programs that have some very, very weird negative things going on. And Frequency said, what you see about whole busloads of people disappearing, there's videos of people saying that happened in LA, entire areas of homeless people disappearing. Yes, that might happen. I mean, it certainly could. I've heard about people being grabbed in gaps before, batches before. And there's a weird case, I forget if it's in Russia or where a whole town of people went missing. So yes, apparently those things do happen. And, this is all part of the disclosure process, part of what we're learning about and how we're growing and how we're advancing is to learn that we're not alone, but also to learn that, yeah, some really scary stuff does happen. And we have to be strong enough to be able to handle the truth and not just spin out from fear. That's right. So I don't want you to be afraid. I don't want you to live in fear because, we've got a lot of things happening here that are very positive as well. But anyway, this is part of the disclosure process is what we're getting here. And this is very intense stuff. So he also said, I've seen things in classified settings that are not explainable with the technology that we know is available. It would not be anything that you know exists on Earth. So that's another big part of the story, is that there's classified technology. And here on the general, it says, he confirms the U.S. military is currently in possession of this technology and has reverse engineered it for the use of tactical stuff now available for use. So this may include anti-drone lasers as well. Fire the laser, right? So, yeah, disclosure is happening. This was a big week for it. A lot of things are coming out through this one avenue, this one window. And so he goes on to say, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed that the Pentagon has the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, managing a caseload exceeding 2,000 UAP reports back to 1945. During the podcast on Friday, the vice president said he's obsessed with accessing these files, wants to visit classified facilities, including Area 51. We just saw that. He also said he believes UFOs may be demonic entities rooted in Christian theology rather than extraterrestrial craft. Again, not exactly what he said. That's why I wanted to bring that in one more time. Then, the very next day, after Gates appeared saying that, on Wednesday, the same day we had the space probe launch to go around the moon, the head of NASA himself said he believes there is a 90% chance that we will find life on Mars. So here it is on Insider. It says, NASA's chief has revealed a shocking new outlook on extraterrestrial life, saying Mars could hold proof that we are not alone. NASA chief Jared Isaacman sat down with the conservative political commentator Benny, again, and said, if we can get to Mars and bring samples back, I put it at a better than 90% chance that we could prove there was some microbial life on Mars. That is not normal to have the head of NASA say that he thinks there's a 90% chance that we're going to find life. Well, this is all obviously part of the disclosure process. They're setting us up. They're getting us ready for this. They're telling us without really telling us. It's the lead in, it's the build up. Quite amazing. So this was one of the links to it, the full interview there. We will find life in space. We're building a moon base right ahead of the Artemis 2 launch. And then 90% chance of life on Mars. So that was a shorter video that he put out that just talks about that one part. So here it is in Unilad Tech. This is one of the publications that wrote about this. NASA's administrator making a bold claim, an unexpected revelation about life on Mars. So he recently spoke to the political commentator, as we just said, Benny Johnson, about the space agency's latest activities. One particular comment drawing significant attention among those interested in extraterrestrial life. If we can get to Mars, he said, and bring samples back, I put it at a better than 90% chance that we could prove there was some microbial life on Mars. I would say there could be life everywhere, he added. It doesn't mean that it will look like us. It doesn't mean that it will have tentacles like you would see in movies. Okay, well, this is pretty provocative, isn't it? And then here's another one. This is another news source. There's 2 trillion galaxies, and how many stars are there? How many of them have exoplanets in a Goldilocks zone? Surely there must be life out there somewhere. I would say there is a chance there could be life out there everywhere, he added. And that is true. I mean, we definitely do know that this is nothing new. In fact, Sir Fred Hoyle and Chandra Wickramasinghe have talked about the idea that our galactic dust in our galaxy could be almost entirely bacteria. So here's Sir Fred Hoyle, British astronomer, and it says right there that he was an English astronomer. There's his website. He died in 2001. This was him before he died. Sorry, I used the picture of the wrong guy in other shows. It's Fred Hoyle, not Edmund Hoyle. Or Francis. I forget what I said before. But anyway. So he was an alma mater of Cambridge and, grew up in Yorkshire, which is where my original British lineage is from. The original Wilcock line is from Yorkshire. So he's from our hometown. A distinguished astronomer and cosmologist, best known for coining the phrase Big Bang in derision, as he rejected the theory in favor of a steady state model positing the universe expands, but as a constant density through continuous matter creation. Now here's where it gets interesting. He's talking about chemical elements being synthesized in stars, stellar nuclear synthesis. He predicted a specific resonance energy level in the carbon-12 nucleus required for carbon production in stars. This contributed to Fowler, his partner, winning the Nobel Prize. And then beyond just that, he promoted a panspermia hypothesis that life originates in space and argued against Darwinian natural selection, often holding minority scientific views, challenging established paradigms. So this is nothing new. These papers were being written in the 1950s, as you can see. And obviously, he's talking about carbon production in stars. You can see where he was going with this. And the Nobel Prize came out of that. So then just some of his credentials: that he run the Plumian Professor of Astronomy in Cambridge, Institute of Theoretical Astronomy, knighted in 1972 for contributions to astronomy, numerous awards including a Crafoord Prize and the Kalinga Prize in '67. And then he continued to write science fiction, popular science books, and had a series of strokes and died in Bournemouth. So that's Sir Fred Hoyle. Here's Chandra Wickramasinghe, Sri Lankan born, he's still alive, British mathematician, astronomer, interstellar medium, infrared astronomy, light scattering theory, and applications of solid state physics. And he also went to Cambridge University, as you see down there at the bottom. So he is best known for his long-standing contribution with Sir Edmund Hoyle. Thank you for the donation, Seek Light McDonald. I appreciate that very much. The championing the theory of Panspermia, the idea that life on Earth originated from space, carried in by comets and interstellar dust. He made pioneering contributions to the study of cosmic dust, promoting in 1974 that interstellar and cometary dust has an organic composition, a theory now widely accepted. There it is, it's right on the AI. Widely accepted that interstellar dust, galactic dust, is organic. He and Hoyle jointly got awarded the International Dag Hammarskjöld Gold Medal for Science in '86. That's pretty impressive. The highest doctorate of the University of Cambridge, Sci.D., published over 400 scientific papers, including more than 75 in Nature. This guy is a heavyweight. And again, this is significant because of what the NASA administrator just said. He's held academic positions at Cambridge, Cardiff, Buckingham Center for Astrobiology at the University of Buckingham, advisor to the president of Sri Lanka for 2 years. And the hypothesis that his most controversial claim, the hypothesis that viruses and diseases have extraterrestrial origins, largely rejected by the mainstream scientific community. Imagine that. If a comet comes through or an asteroid comes through, and that, anyway, you find out that the disease came from that. That is interesting, isn't it? This possibility that we could get new pathogens coming in from these other sources. So, what we see in his work is that 90% of the dust in our galaxy is actually freeze-dried bacteria. Now, how did they figure this out? In simple terms, they studied for many years and they discovered that these dust grains in our galaxy, everything, it's like 99% almost actually, it's well over 9%. 99% of them appear to be 70% hollow on the inside. Now, this is something that I've talked about for a long time. I went back and did the due diligence for you. So here it is again from the AI directly. In the 1970s, Fred Hoyle and Wickramasinghe proposed that interstellar dust grains are actually dried frozen bacteria, a conclusion drawn from an almost perfect match between the infrared extinction spectra of cosmic dust and laboratory measurements of desiccated, that means dried out, bacterial cells. Their research indicated that the low, broad knee in the interstellar spectrum at 2.3 micrometers, and I'll show you that in a minute, could only be explained if the dust grains were translucent, meaning light passes through them, hollow spheres of a particular size, which aligns precisely with the properties of bacterial cells. Again, bacteria, when they freeze dry, they become translucent and they become 70% hollow on the inside. That's exactly what this infrared light was showing us. It's the same thing. And remember, this was 1974. So NASA is only now telling us, yeah, you know, life is probably all over the universe, but the proof has been available. It's just that people didn't want to talk about it. And that's kind of annoying when you think about it. Like, wait a minute, why have we had to wait so long to get to this information coming out? So they're translucent hollow spheres. This theory is known as cometary panspermia, suggests that microbial life pervades the galaxy, that comets act as carriers, transporting viable bacteria and viruses between star systems and planetary surfaces. So yeah, it's a germaphobe's worst nightmare. While this hypothesis was initially ridiculed, remains rejected by mainstream science, Hoyle and Wickramasinghe argue the information content of life is too complex to originate on Earth alone, necessitating cosmic origin. This is a very important point. it would be like the equivalent of the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. DNA, the complexity of DNA, is like the entire Encyclopedia Britannica being dropped out of a helicopter, one word at a time, individual words, falling on the ground in perfect page layout for the whole encyclopedia. We have an Earth that's only 4.5 billion years old, microbial life. It doesn't even cool down enough for liquid water to form until 3.8 billion years ago, and microbial life shows up 3.8 billion years ago. Almost simultaneously, basically almost simultaneously with when water shows up on Earth. And by the time you have microbial life, you've done 90% of the heavy lifting to create life. So that's a very fascinating thing, that it was already here as soon as we got the water going. What do you guys think about this anyway? It's incredible. David knows as much about science as he does about the Bible. Yeah, well, you know, I like to go through both. Dust is alive. What a horror show. That's right. Microbes frozen, preserved from Tiamat, the exploded planet, and Mars's ocean creating the bulk of the Oort cloud. Never thought of that. It's very interesting, says David Savage. Yeah, so this is interesting. They posited that interstellar dust contains substantial fractions of organic polymers and bacteria, surviving the harsh conditions of space by going dormant and then being reactivated when they land on a suitable planet. So let's read from the actual Panspermia website that talks about this in much more detail. Hoyle and Wickramasinghe were trying to identify the contents of interstellar dust by finding something that would match its infrared signature or extinction spectrum. In 1968, polycyclic aromatic molecules were detected in interstellar dust. And that right there is the building blocks of life. Already we're starting to get there because they're aromatic, and the smell that they have is a biological smell. That's what you're ultimately going to get here. Polycyclic aromatic, this life cycles that create the aroma. 1968. 1972, convincing evidence that dust contained porphyrins was obtained. That's again, porphyr is a word that means purple. Purple, you know, created by biological life is what this is really about. But it gets better. And Wickramasinghe, 1974, demonstrated that there are complex organic polymers, specifically molecules of polyformaldehyde in space. And so there you go. These molecules are closely related to cellulose, which is very abundant in biology. That's plant material. By 1975, Hoyle and Wickramasinghe had become convinced that organic polymers were contained in a substantial fraction of the dust. It ultimately comes out to like 99% or something like that. Somebody says, I once dated a girl who was polycyclic aromatic. Wah, wah. That's really funny. The water bear, imagine them being 50 pounds in mass. So anyway, you know, this is very interesting. Extremophile bacteria that live in space, they get frozen, they come down onto a planet, they thaw out, they rehydrate, and they come back to life. They still survive. This would be very interesting because where is the galactic dust coming from? It's coming from the surface of stars. It's called the solar wind. The sun is blowing out all this dust and gas that's going out there into the cosmos. It then hits the surface of stars and planets. And sure enough, they turn into bacteria. That's why the Earth got life on it almost as soon as we got started. It is a living universe. That's really fascinating. So then here's where it gets into the thing about the knee in the spectrum. In the middle 1970s, they turned their attention to an apparent anomaly in the infrared spectrum. It had a low, broad knee, which you can see right here. Whoops. A low, broad knee. That's the part there in the middle that pokes up and has a point right about where the 4 is on the, what would that be, the x-axis, and it goes up to 6 on the y-axis. That little thing is what we're calling the knee, just so you see that. Okay. So I had a low, broad knee centered about 2.3 wavelengths per micrometer, the slight convexity on the slope at the left side of the graph above. So this anomaly, this low, broad knee, 2.3 wavelengths per micrometer, is what you're seeing right there. Wavelength dependence of interstellar extinction normalized to 1.8 mag k parsecs at lambda -1. Anyway, there's the knee, and you can see that there is a The points are for the astronomical observations. The solid curve is for the grain model proposed here. So in other words, the astronomical observations are then lined up with the idea of the model of what bacteria would do if they were freeze-dried and released in space and releasing infrared spectrum, and they're the same. They are the same. This spectral feature could be explained if the grains of dust were of a certain set size, which is the size of bacteria, and after trying almost everything else first in 1979, they looked at the spectrum for bacteria. So then it took them 4 years to figure out that this is what it really was. Dried bacteria refract light as irregular hollow spheres, and their size range is appropriate. There you go. And it's the 70% hollow on the inside, as I was saying. So Elisa Taylor is saying, oh, David is barely sharing a fraction of all of his knowledge. I've been following since I was a very young man, or since he was a young man, way back. We've grown older together. Yeah, but this is something I've never gone into this kind of detail about before, and I'm following up for those who heard me say these things before. It's nice to get some new perspective. It's nice to get new angle on this and, take it to the next level, as you will. The match between the spectrum for dried bacteria, the solid line, and the ones from the interstellar grains, dots, triangles, and squares was nearly perfect. Wow. Thinking without prejudice, Hoyle and Wickramasinghe concluded the grains probably were dried and frozen bacteria. So that is crazy. When Wickramasinghe first made this calculation, he was dumbfounded. After almost 20 years in which he had tried in vain to obtain a theoretical extinction curve closely matching astronomical observations, using theories that permitted a considerable measure of parameter fitting, he now had a theory with no adjustable parameter, a theory which yet gave excellent results. So this is awesome. And this is, again, NASA has now confirmed 90% likelihood there's microbes on Mars. Why didn't we get this all the way back 50 years ago? I don't know. But the finding was ridiculed at the time. It is still ridiculed today, definitely not accepted by mainstream science, although the AI basically said that it was. Perhaps their work will be honored eventually. So yes, this is a very interesting thing, because if the universe itself has microbes everywhere, then that means that the universe is alive. And we also saw the work that I've said many times before. I don't have slides for today, but the Nobel Prize-winning scientist who discovered the HIV molecule, he was the one who discovered that the drop of water can have DNA induced into it. You put a tube of water, it's just plain water, a tube of plain water with DNA in it side by side. You wrap a coil around it with 7 hertz electrostatic frequency. You electrify it for 18 hours, and now the tube with the water in it grows into life, and it has that life in it. I'm trying to remember his name. Off the top of my head, it's not coming to me. You guys probably know. Can somebody remember who's the name of the guy with the Nobel Prize for the HIV who then discovered the water? Thank you. My God. How could I have forgotten that? Luc Montagnier, Paul Cannon, for the win. Fast on the draw. You got it right away. So yes, Montagnier discovered that water itself, you don't even need any panspermia coming in from the outside. The bacteria will just manifest inside the water from the hydrogen and oxygen molecules themselves. So life is going to form wherever and however it can. And that is really, really breathtaking, because it suggests, of course, that there is some hidden force in quantum physics itself that makes water exist. And that could be what we would think of as like the Christ, as the Christ consciousness. That this consciousness actually does exist everywhere. And sorry about my hay fever eyes. I'm just going to try to keep hydrating and get that thing going. Yes, think fungus, not bacterial. Well, it could be fungal as well. But anyway, Luc Montagnier, that's the guy. Michael Jaluna says, I was going to go with Al Gore because he invented the interwebs. That's really funny. Anyway, so yes, we've definitely got a lot going on here. It's an exciting time to be alive, man. So hence the act of baptism. That's interesting. The baptism, yes, the putting the water on the forehead, the sacred water, the sacred life. now their work may finally be honored, because we have the head of NASA actually telling us, yes, this is what's going on. We have water and life forming together in the same little vial. We have stars creating bacteria, that 99% of the dust in our galaxy, when you look at the center of the galaxy from here and you analyze that dust, that it has this infrared signature. Plus, NASA's already told us that there's been an estimated 40 billion Earth-like planets in our galaxy alone. 40 billion Earths that have water, liquid water. I mean, this is just outrageous. It's really, really interesting that there would be that many, and that this could come into our awareness now, that the head of NASA is saying 90% chance we're going to find life on Mars. I love it. I mean, for me, this is like a big, big win. And he did it on the same day that the space probe Artemis 2 was launched. And this was a photograph of Artemis 2 being launched from space. And so how interesting that the Panspermia theory was in full swing by 1974, and that this is the first lunar mission we've had since whatever it was, I guess 1972, 71, 72, thereabouts was the last time we went to the moon. So I think that the timing of a new lunar mission right before Easter, I like symbolism. I think it's very symbolic, because Easter is about ascension. And what does a rocket do? A rocket ascends into the atmosphere, and it's now gone, you know, farther than, quote unquote, man has gone before, or it will, because at some point in their orbit, they're going to go farther away from the Earth than any of the other lunar astronauts did. So this now becomes, in symbolic terms, the farthest that humanity will have ever left the Earth in any official, acknowledged public capacity. That to me is synchronicity. That to me shows, you know, in symbolic, dreamlike terms, if you're analyzing it like a dream, we are breaking new boundaries. We are going farther than we have before. I loved astronomy growing up. I loved the space shuttle. I watched all that stuff. This is our first piloted trip to the moon in over 50 years. Maybe it's also symbolic of the fact that we're going to learn a lot more about space. We're going to get a lot more into space travel, and we ourselves will have that capability. So, yes, I put money into Stevati Aerospace, and we have got the ability to build hover cars. So we've been told by some of the people in the company that we can do this, and we're still very, very close now to raising money so we can get that going and actually start to build, for example, hover cars that would use the same type of technology that was in the declassified Navy patents from Dr. Salvatore Pais, using charge clusters. And again, our new movie Levitation is in the pipeline. We're hoping to get that out pretty soon. And we will talk all about that in the movie. So be on the lookout for that. It's a beautiful film. It's got a lot of great work in it. I do a great job in the interview, I think. So does Chris. We have some other talents from the UFO field who you will see when you go in there. It's really, really cool. And so anyway, the next phase of disclosure news that we had, and again, this is our Festival of Ascension, so UFOs and Ascension, it's all part of that stuff. Representative Burchett once again saying that if the disclosure that he heard about came out, it would set the Earth on fire, and that he is not self-harming. Got to be careful on words there. Wow, set the Earth on fire. That sounds pretty intense. So this is from LifeZet. This is what he had to say. He serves on a congressional subcommittee focused on UFO-related matters, and he made the remarks when he was on Newsmax with the host Rob Finnerty. The discussion centered on what Burchett learned through classified briefings and whether the government should disclose more information to the public. He said, "I'm being 100% serious. I've been 100% serious. I've been briefed by just about every alphabet agency there is. And I will just tell you this. If they would release the things that I've seen, you would stay up. You would be up all night worrying about or thinking about this stuff," he said. I just paraphrased it a little bit. Up all night. He said the information he has reviewed would likely trigger public demands for answers if it were made available. He also referenced a recent briefing that he said carried particularly serious implications. Oh, also, okay, so that's not serious enough? You'd be up all night worrying, thinking about this stuff if they release the things that I've seen. And then we had the vice president saying he thinks they're demons. Whoa. And demons are associated with really evil, crazy, horrible stuff. Like, for example, attacking humans, cannibalizing humans, that kind of thing. So, my God, like, is that where this is going? It could be, because again, one of the things we've heard is that certain types of grays soak in a human material that they prepare. Oh my goodness. That's been out there for a long time in the inside community, but that would really rile people up. And that also, again, reptilians apparently just go after you like, in various ways that I was just describing, as do the giants, by the way, these human giants that we see in history and apparently still exist in Afghanistan. I was briefed on giants in Afghanistan a long time ago, and now there are whistleblowers coming out and saying that very thing on various programs. So if you haven't looked into giants in Afghanistan, that is another big, big, pun intended, big subject. There you go, man. There you go. Thank you very much. So, non-human intelligence, NHI, right? This is all related to this kind of stuff. It's all part of the game of what disclosure is really about. Have you seen Bob Lazar's new documentary? No, I haven't. But anyway, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And thank you guys for being here today. I really do appreciate it. This is great to be able to talk to you about all this stuff. So, particularly serious implications in a briefing? What's this all about? We just need to disclose it all, he says. I'm sick of it. I'll just tell you this. I was briefed last week on an issue, 2 weeks ago, and it would have set the earth on fire. The country would have come unglued. Holy crap. I mean, would that be like the breeding program that Gates was talking about? Maybe it's something else. We don't know. But again, a lot of the stuff I've been telling you, maybe it's not going to stay secret for much longer. I think if they would have heard all that I heard, they would demand answers, and then we would need to. There you go. The country would come unglued. The earth would be set on fire. Holy crap. That's really strong languaging. Unfortunately, it just keeps getting covered up, and the people who know are dying or disappearing, as the case may be. Wow. Yeah, believe me, don't I know about that threat? And for the record, I'm not self-harming and I don't take risks. I'm glad you said that. I'm speechless, Congressman, Finnerty said. So there you go. The truth is being protected with lethal force. Yes, I like Burchett too. I think he's great. Lots of this interesting stuff going on. The Jupiter Ascending movie, right, is very, very much related to all this stuff. Where are the missing children? Yeah, so it's very interesting. Lots of interesting stuff going on. But it goes on from here. I told the president to release it all, and the problem is the people who are around him don't know. The president doesn't know the questions to ask. That's, I guess, a machine transcript that they got that from. A few of us are going to have to get with the president and tell him what he needs to ask and where he needs to look, Burchett said. Wow. We're in meetings and they have addresses and tell locations of items, I'll just say. And the public has a right to know. Dadgummit, it's your tax dollars, he said. Well, maybe we don't want to know. So the war news has gotten really upsetting. This is the next thing we're going to cover really briefly. They said they were not willing to negotiate. This was on Friday the 3rd. It's really, all caps is like, whoa. Officially told the mediators they are not willing to meet in the coming days and that our demands are unacceptable. Wow. So there you go. And then we had on Friday 3 different aircraft down in one day, and apparently more of them, I'm not sure how many exactly, but a total of 6 aircraft I think ended up going down because they had to do this daring rescue. We'll talk about that a little bit. Sunflower Life came in for the big 333 donation. Thank you very much. I was wondering if you would show up. 2,200 people watching now. Thank you very much. Joel Goldsmith quote again, knowing the truth, following spiritual principles, sowing to the spirit instead of material ways, only this will bring regeneration, resurrection, renewal, and finally our ascension above all materiality. Anyone can achieve this great effort as once the Master Yeshua did. Well, thank you very much for the donation. It's really kind, and I appreciate that greatly. It's a wonderful thing that we have to do there. And so I really do want to thank you. The support that you give is vital. And that finally got us up to the $1,000 mark on revenue for the total gross that we've got. Of course, there's a cut involved, but that's okay. I don't mind paying the bills for our bandwidth. And again, you can also donate to the link if you prefer to do it that way, and we will read out the names of those who do that next week. So thank you very much for 333 giving us a synchronicity there. 3 aircraft were downed on Friday. This was really, really ominous. It was the F-15, the Black Hawk helicopter, and an A-10. And we had one soldier from the F-15 who was not immediately rescued. And then they're saying that the enemy said that it was from a new air defense system. And they think that with this, they will be able to fully secure control of the airspace. Apparently, we've heard some more stuff about this. They might have gotten it from somewhere else. So this is kind of concerning that it could be loitering in the air for a while, waiting for something to happen. They're very difficult to defend against because you can't really see them. So this is why we really need this thing to come to an end quickly, and we hope that it does. Monday deadline was again given, and this means we need to pray for peace. So that's one of the reasons why we're here today. Remember when I gave them 10 days to make a deal or open up the strait? Time is running out 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God. Whoa. And then there's another one that came out more recently. It's even scarier sounding than that. He's setting something up. This falls 30 minutes after U.S. markets open Monday morning. Reportedly 40-plus nations in discussion about sending ships to help secure the strait, led by Britain and France. Deadlines spur action. And this again was BC, as you can see right here. Then we have insider who says the largest U.S. Air Force, the large U.S. Air Force airlift to Europe and the Middle East continued today with several C-5s, 17s, and KC-135s crossing over the Atlantic. Yeah, it's very tense at the moment. And they deployed a Black Hawk helicopter to conduct search and rescue missions to recover the second member from the downed F-15. This was a big, big story all throughout the weekend. Thank God he was rescued finally. And then we saw another attack on the leadership, where he says many of the military leaders who were leading poorly and unwisely were gone, along with much else, with this massive strike that took place. And there's a video of the attack. And so, again, you know, very, very intense stuff that's going on right now. Very intense stuff going on right now. It's an intense time. The missing soldier was rescued as of Sunday. We just found this out today. Thank God. And I'm glad that I was able to get this in for the show. We got him, he says, as the second downed pilot recovered in a high-risk raid after a dicey firefight. So this is the letter that came out about this. Fellow Americans, over the past 12 hours, we got him. That's how it starts. Sorry, I didn't get the beginning. Over the past several hours, the military pulled off one of the most daring operations. I'm not going to read it all for keyword purposes, just to keep it, but you can read the whole thing yourself. For one of the most daring search and rescue operations in U.S. history, one of our incredible crew member officers, who was also a highly respected colonel, he is now safe and sound. He had been behind enemy lines, in the mountains, treacherous area, hunted down. They were getting closer and closer by the hour. He was never truly alone, because the commander-in-chief, secretary, chairman, and fellow fighters were monitoring his location 24 hours a day, diligently planning for his rescue. At my direction, dozens of aircraft were sent in to retrieve him. He did sustain injuries, but he will be just fine. This miraculous search and rescue operation coming in right in time for Easter, in addition to a successful rescue of another brave pilot yesterday, which we did not confirm because we did not want to jeopardize the second operation. It's the first time in military memory that 2 pilots of the U.S. were rescued separately deep in this territory. We will never leave an American warfighter behind. The fact that we were able to pull off both of these operations without a single person being killed or wounded proves once again we've achieved this overwhelming situation. It's a moment that all Americans, Republicans, Democrats, everyone else should be proud and unite around. We truly have the best, most professional in the history of the world military. God bless America, our troops, and happy Easter to all. And then this one says that before locating the weapons system officer launching a daring rescue, the company initiated a deception campaign spreading word inside this country that he had already been found and they were moving him over land to get him out. As they grappled with confusion and uncertainty, the agency leveraged unique, highly sophisticated capabilities to search for and ultimately locate him. He had some kind of a beacon that he activated, and he was hiding in the mountains, according to search, evasion, rescue, and escape SEER training. The ultimate needle in a haystack scenario, courageous American hidden within a mountain crevice, undetectable by conventional means, but revealed through this intelligence. They promptly shared his precise location with the Pentagon and the White House, ordering an immediate rescue mission, and this was executed with boldness and precision as they continue to provide real-time intelligence support throughout. And again, this is another news article posting the same thing. So then this is where it got really wild and why we needed to have a prayer here, because the languaging got really intense. Open the strait. He threatens that he will blow everything up if there's no deal by Tuesday. Make a deal, open the strait, or you'll be living in hell. And so, yes, this is what actually did happen. And it certainly is not the way, not the way that I would have handled it. I don't want to be, I don't want to go down into all this hate territory, but like, well, I shouldn't even say but. This is the way he chose to handle it. It's very intense. It's very scary. Donna Smith just donated. If we could see the spiritual world, we would probably drop to the ground how much the angels are protecting us. This whole war is a spiritual battle. Thank you, David. This is the highlight of my week. Yeah, he's cursing up a storm. That's right. A storm, quote unquote. So Happy Elena says it's like he's been body snatched. Yes, I mean, this definitely is like a brain scrambler, and it kind of, takes us in a whole new direction. It will be, now he's pushing it to Tuesday. It will be Power Plant Day, Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one. Two different words here. Open it up, you crazies, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. Wow. I mean, I don't honestly think we've ever seen anything like this before. So there is a lot of trolling coming out. This one was actually on the ZH website. It's not every day that the president sounds like he's one step away from a full cinematic turn. But here we are. And then he goes on to say it's not calm, subtle, or polished, da-da-da-da. Sounds like something you read on Call of Duty, and it even gets worse from there. So again, I don't want to join those voices of derision, because I think that it's important that we, okay, Jean Novacek has to take off. She'll watch the replay. Thank you very much for the donation. But anyway, this is definitely what we're seeing. And so instead of like trying to say, opinion statements about it, let's just say that this is the world that we're in. And this is why I think it's very important that we focus on prayer and focus on positivity and focus on healing. I'll just say for myself, if I ever was in a situation like this, I'm not sure that I would employ a strategy like this, but we now know that with the number, we got 2,200 people watching right now. We've already had a total of 9,100 views. We can correct any type of negative things that could happen in the world. And this really is a call for prayer. I don't want to see things go to hell. Because what if they don't like this? What if they get insulted and then they decide that they want to retaliate by, again, they could go after what they've said they could do, and it would really, really destroy the Middle East in a way that we've never seen before, where there's no drinking water, there's no fuel. It could create a very, very intense negative situation on the earth. So imagine this dropping on Easter Sunday, this particular message and the write-ups and the follow-ups about it coming out at that time. This is, again, really a call for us to pray, to meditate. Thankfully, there does appear to be progress happening. I did want to point that out, however, because it does say on the same website that negotiations are underway. He spoke with Fox News reporter Trey Yinks for 15 minutes early on Sunday, providing new details on the behind-the-scenes negotiations with the Iranians, what would happen if they did not reach a good faith deal. So he said, again, if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. My goodness. The reporter went on to say that he added, if there is no deal, bridges and power plants will go down all over the country. He asked the president about the possibility of an agreement with them, and he said those negotiating on behalf of them have granted amnesty for now so they can continue the talks. They will not be killed. He noted that he thinks a deal can be reached by Monday, and he says, I think there's a good chance tomorrow. They are negotiating now. So at least that's something to hang on to. I know this is freaky, but I figured, what the hell, this is our hologram. If you look at the exact tapestry of the world that we're in right now, this moment in time, this is the stress that we all have to manage. This is the news that's coming out. This is the, challenge that we have is to stay positive, to stay hopeful. And so there it is. They are negotiating, and he thinks there's a good chance that it will happen tomorrow. Plus, we've heard things like this before, and then typically there's a pattern where it seems like there's this threat, and then it ends up resolving. Let's hope that that continues. I really don't want to see this thing go totally wild like that, because they would retaliate. The retaliation could be very severe, and probably not enough could be done to stop it. So we really need this to work out. So if there was ever a time for us to call upon the power of Christ, the power of Easter, the power of miracles, the power of healing, now is that time. This is the time that we really want to get into this. We want to live this way. We want to thrive and survive and flourish. We don't want to be killed. We don't want to be snuffed out like a candle flame. And this is very dangerous stuff. You're never more alive than when you're on the run from a pack of wild dogs. You're never closer to God. So this is why I felt like, okay, you know what? I need to do a show today, even though my eyes look crazy from the hay fever and whatever else. He also said, once again here, this was another update, that they won't, he said they've conceded that they won't actually be able to use this type of incendiary device. So they've already made that concession. The negotiation is underway. That's a very good sign. That just came out this morning. This is breaking news right before I went on the air. And he has given their negotiators immunity from death. Well, only God could do that, right? Everybody's going to die sometime, but immunity from death right now. I think that you just got to explain the context of that statement a little bit more. But no, they've conceded that they won't accept, they've accepted that they're not going to have that type of a device. Thank God. This is the best news that we've gotten out of this situation so far. He then went on ABC and said it should be over in days, not weeks. But if there is no deal made, then the whole country will be gone with very little off of the table. And again, somebody was telling me that, and they're not saying they're going to do the desalination plants right now, but if the other side did, that is a war crime. That desalination, I guess, falls under UN human rights charters. You're not supposed to blow up people's ability to make water because they don't have rivers out there. They have these seasonal wadis, as they're called, the seasonal flow of water. And if you don't have desalination plants, then there's no drinking water, and it's going to create massive humanitarian crisis. So I really am concerned, and I want to make sure that I'm here with you, that we're talking about this stuff responsibly, and that we're doing our meditation. We're making sure that we've got this all handled with our own power of prayer, because this does work. This stuff really does work. It's not just superstition. It's not just snake oil. I'm not a snake oil salesman. We've talked many times about this, how this really does benefit us. And by the time everybody gets done watching this over a couple of days, and they are with us and they're meditating together on this Ascension Festival holiday, we have the numbers to create a cessation of hostilities, to reduce that. I think it is important. You're not helpless. You're not powerless. By being with me now, by focusing on Ascension, focusing on positivity, focusing on love, we can steer off this timeline. What do you guys think, by the way? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Easter show doesn't have a lot of trolls. This is nice. We can sit back and enjoy, says Ross Feinstein. Thank you, David. We're not going to be snuffed out. Divinity didn't bring us this far for us all to be destroyed. I totally agree. That's why, this is like a crucifixion. I mean, man, if anybody was trolling me saying, oh, David, you don't know what you're talking about, there's no crucifixion. Well, wait a minute. This is a very scary thing. Like if they go all out blowing up the Middle East and vice versa, it's going to affect us. And who knows but what, they don't have cargo ships or something. They're going to try to hit targets here. But anyway, the real problem more than anything is on a major, major level is fertilizer fuel, shipments of all this stuff. So let's just pray that even though many people probably, like that guy that wrote the article, are going to say, well, I don't like what's happening. It looks like he turned to the dark side. Let's just hope that this type of General Patton type of lingo is actually going to work. Remember, we think he might have been that general in a past life because they look the same, and he was born only a few months after General Patton died. But anyway, yeah, break into the meditation section. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. We are getting close. So one more thing here. He said if the Iran deal is not made by the deadline, then he's going to blow up everything. There was another example of it. It's just unbelievable. And then the last little thing that we got was that the deadline has now been shifted until 8 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, which I guess is going to be early morning over there in terms of how the timelines shift. So maybe that'll be early morning on Wednesday. So that's the now final deadline. So you can sweat today, you can sweat tomorrow, and you can sweat most of Tuesday, but hopefully they get a deal before then. Let's pray that this is happening. That's right. Paul Cannon says we're watching a movie. Post number 521, the scare necessary event, have faith we are in control. Let's hope that's true, and let's hope that however they react, that we're not going to have to go into this nightmare apocalyptic type of scenario, because I really don't want to have to see that, man. I really don't. That's true. Vakapala made a very good point. We do not want the karmic bill of messing up the rest of the planet. That is true. You don't want that karma. It's a very good point. So yes, they hold the keys to peace. They can choose life or death. Well, it's very intense. And so again, I don't want you to be scared. I wouldn't have talked about this if I thought it was all doom and gloom and there was no hope. That at the same time, it is essential that we pray for peace this time. This is the holiday of Easter. This is our Ascension festival. We don't want to be ascending into death. We want to be ascending into a new world that is positive and peaceful, where negativity like this doesn't exist. That's been my dream. That's been my vision throughout my whole career, is trying to see the Ascension come into fruition, and I think it's very important. Hopefully we can avoid negative timelines. And again, by our prayer together, I believe we can. So then on Saturday, we had some really nice stuff happen, which is new photos of the Earth. The flat earthers may not be convinced. That's okay. Artemis 2. And I would also call this a synchronistic event because, again, we've ascended away from the Earth and we're getting new images that we've never seen before from the moon or from near the moon of the Earth in space, and they're very, very beautiful. So this was a nice kind of down ramp from what we were just doing. A view of Earth taken by NASA astronaut Artemis 2 Commander Reed Wiseman, the Orion spacecraft's window, after completing translunar injection burn, and they'll be on a 10-day journey around the moon, be back aboard their own spacecraft. So there it is. This is taken through the window. It's very beautiful. And then we get this image. We'll zoom in on a little bit more so we can see the Earth a little bit more up close there. I love it. And so anyway, yes, some people are saying they don't really like the rhetoric. I get it. I just don't want to be out there saying hateful things, because I really want us to be able to be okay. And to me, adding more negativity on top of negativity doesn't really help anything. It already happened. It's done. It was said. And let's just pray that we can get through this intact and alive, and that we're not going to have us, we're not going to see anything bad come out of this. So this is a view of Earth after the translunar injection burn, featuring 2 auroras. And then it also says that there is some type of, what is that, zodiacal light? Is that what it says? I got to put my glasses on here. Yes, zodiacal light on the bottom right. So I guess that light is like a lens flare or something. Some people are trying to say it's a UFO. It's right there. But overall, what you're seeing here is you got Africa on the left, you got Brazil on the right, and then right down there is your lens flare. And part of how you can tell it's not like a UFO, because some people are trying to say, oh my God, it's a UFO. No, it's just a lens flare. And we see the same thing in another image, but let's just go back and look at how beautiful this is. This image of the Earth, this is one we've never seen before. It's a fragile planet, man. And so I kind of find it ironic, you know, when we're looking at this and meditating on our own sphere. This is another one we've never seen before, and it's got a nice corona around the bottom. It is like the corona, the bride and the bridegroom, the alignment of the way that the atmosphere is. We've never really seen an Earth photo quite like this before, and I love it. They didn't land on the moon yet, but they're going to, and they want to actually end up building a base there. So, you know, this is something that I think is good. And I just got texted by one of my insiders here. Let's see what he's got to say. If it's anything, I don't know if he's aware that I'm on the air right now. Let's just see what he said. Oh, okay. Anyway, we're way down at the bottom here. Angry daddy glasses, don't you love it? Okay, he's just talking about the craft that were lost, but we're not going into all that. But it is a daring rescue mission that happened. Thank God that people were rescued. Aren't those the dorkiest? I bought these glasses as a comedy prop just to make the angry daddy character, but then they actually really do work. So it's pretty funny. Yes, it's a gorgeous photo. The matrix is glitching. Watch the sky. So anyway, you know, we can't change the fact that this is how it was worded, and I know a lot of people are upset about it. But again, we have these beautiful images of the Earth that we can look at, and that is part of the ascension. We've ascended. We've looked at it out there, and so it's pretty cool that we get to see this right now. And so then what we have here is the crew members inside the craft, the first man of color to be in space, which is really cool. And then here's another example of the backlit Earth where once again, you know, it's all dark. It's kind of the same angle, but before the light broke across, you can still see Africa there. And then right there again at the bottom, it was after they completed their translunar injection burn, right there at the bottom again is another example of the lens flare. So now we know, now it's not a UFO. It's not anything weird. It's just very likely a lens flare because it keeps coming out the same way time after time. So this is our Ascension holiday par excellence. This is the time that we are all supposed to celebrate Easter. And again, let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on the good, because if we dwell in the negative, we're not getting anywhere. We're not going to make the strides that we need to make as a society. So it's very important that we pray for a quick ending to this solution. And so one of the ways we can do that right now is by celebrating the glory of the risen Christ. Let's just meditate on how beautiful it is that there was this gift to humanity that was given, this being who just told you to love each other. And they hated him so much for that. They hated him for saying, love your neighbor as yourself. This was an uprising from the people. Many people got mad at him. They scourged him. They scorned him. And yet he rose from the dead. I mean, it's a really fascinating story. The death itself is such a horrific example of this. And it was such a beautiful gift. We want to remember the gift that was given by Jesus to bring us into this higher alignment with cosmic truth, to align us with the true nature of the universe. Remember what that Casey reading was saying, that this is your elder brother, that this is the pattern, that we follow the pattern of the Christ. We follow that divine flesh example of what he gave us, and that is just a beautiful thing, man. We are living through very exciting times, and ultimately, again, I believe that Jesus was paving the way for an interplanetary event that transforms our solar system. And I love that. We are heading into the glory of an infinite tomorrow. It's really true. And so again, when I look at what the news is today, and that people are getting hit with this news on Easter, on this most sacred of all days, it's so intense. I don't believe that the world is going to have to stay this negative for much longer. I think that we have periods of negativity. We go through periods where it's really scary. We go through periods of intense difficulty, periods of trauma, periods of suffering and longing and pain, and then things turn around. And we get the good stuff, we get the positive stuff. It becomes a better situation. So this is a point in time that's like a nexus, it's like a knot. And so we're looking at how we reconcile the past, the present, and the future all at once. We're time looped in with the time of Jesus. We're time looped in with his crucifixion. Now it's happening on a planetary level. We've got the threat of World War III potentially happening. We've got the threat of all types of destructive events. I've never seen anything like this before. I've never seen a head of state talking like this before, this type of rhetoric. George W., he didn't go talking like that. I don't remember ever, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Can anybody think of something else that happened that was like where anybody used that type of rhetoric before with the cursing? America, did Obama ever do? I don't think so. So wow, it's like we're in a new reality here, and it was, but we're growing through this as a collective. We're growing through it as a planet. We're working through this together. And right, using the art of war, that's one of the ways you could look at it. But nope, only him. That's what somebody else said. So maybe Mussolini. Well, we don't want to compare him to dictators, but I get it. I don't know if Reagan did. Linda Kiesling said, well, Linda, if you could give us more detail. I don't remember. He said, tear down this wall. Anyway, yes, and the AI question is also pretty scary right now. People losing their jobs and all that kind of stuff going on, and the autonomous robots. I mean, this is a very intense point of what's going on here. And so, I don't know. I'm just praying for our own healing, praying for our safety and our security as a planet. And we are in like a time loop here. We're in a time knot where all these things are coming together at once. And it's very powerful. We are, again, reconciling the past, the present, and the future. All these different timelines are merging at the same time. And we are remembering our true identity, remembering who we really are behind the veil, beyond the illusion. And so remember that when we're going through this type of negativity, it is a cosmic trigger, it is a cosmic catalyst to help us in this ascension process, so that the ascension doesn't come through comfort. The ascension doesn't come through ease and joy and relaxation. The ascension comes through intense difficulty, through rising up through our pain, rising up through our anger, rising up through our negativity, and getting to a higher level of healing somehow in the midst of all this. And I mean, look at me. I'm very humbled today with the way I got the hay fever in my eyes and all this kind of stuff. But I'm still here. I still showed up for you guys. And that Christ energy is the divine spark within all of us. We all have it. We're all one with it. That's what the Casey reading that we read at the beginning was saying. And so we remember that and we honor that Christ. We honor that commitment that we have. And this is all leading up to, again, the glorious reunion with the all there is. That's where this is all really taking us now, is to reunify with that greater consciousness that we were made from. And this is apparently going to be an interplanetary transformation where it's all going to happen throughout the whole solar system. We have many different prophetic sources that talk about that. I think that's a very important part of the process. And right now, our focus really, again, is just on praying for peace, praying for everyone, even though times are tough. That's right. Somebody is saying that he's a strategist. Please remember that. That's right. And so, we definitely want to be positive. We want to focus on that energy. So we're going through this transformation. We want to share our wisdom and embrace others. And so this is a big part of it too, that we're in the love, we're in the light, we're working together, with compassion being the key to an open heart. And so this is very, very significant stuff. So again, what I'm going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit more about the interplanetary climate change transformation that we're all going through here. I'm going to jump ahead here, and we'll get into that stuff next week. So, So we are going through, folks, a cosmic trigger for interplanetary ascension. This is very, very important, that the heating of our solar system is taking place all over. I've talked about this before. We have, I'm not going to do it all this week, but we have tornadoes and hot spots appearing on Mercury. We have increase in the green glow on the night side of Venus, magnetic fields, brightness increases on Mars, on Jupiter, on Saturn. The whole solar system, as I've gone through, and it takes hours to do it, but you go look at my book, Source of Investigation, some of my older videos, all of the different planets, including the Earth, are going through intense interplanetary climate change. And that is the realization of this ascension prophecy. One of the people who kind of tied it together was Dr. Benny Pizer, where it says right here on Live Science, the sun being blamed for the warming of the Earth and other worlds. Kawila Pele, thank you for showing up, he says, with a donation. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. He says, I think it's an intriguing coincidence that warming trends have been observed on a number of very diverse planetary bodies in our solar system, he said in an interview. Perhaps this is just a fluke, but again, this was back in 2007. And so people are mad at him, and you look him up now, and I did that today. There's a lot of stuff that's like kind of debunking or criticizing him. But he really is the only official who kind of said, as a scientist, what I was just telling you, which is a number of planetary diverse bodies are warming up, which means it's not just explained by greenhouse gas emissions, that kind of stuff. This was in 2007. It's gotten even more intense now. Then we have Dr. Donald Szymanski showing us that NASA itself was censoring data about the planets changing, specifically related to the local interstellar medium. And here he is, Don Szymanski, on C-SPAN. Here's another photograph of him. This is from his curriculum vitae on his website. You can see his positions, his affiliations, his awards. But this is where it really got important. He did a lot of work on Voyager, right? A lot of good work on Voyager. It says right here, local interstellar medium. Research on the properties of local interstellar medium have been carried out in scattered periods beginning in 1978. The NASA Space Physics Division has shown a persistent, pernicious bias against work on the effects of the neutral gas in the local interstellar medium. Let's read that in more detail now, so we can see it up close. Wait a minute. Persistent, pernicious bias against work on the effects of gas in the local interstellar medium. Why would they care? What exactly does pernicious mean? It actually says here, number 2 objective is deadly or fatal. Number 3, absolute, would be evil and wicked. And then number 1 objective, causing insidious harm or ruin, ruinous, injurious, and hurtful. Now, what was Representative Tim Burchett just saying? He was saying that UFO whistleblowers are coming forward and they're being, killed, is what he, and then he asked about it, and they won't give him the answers about, how these dots might connect. So here we have pernicious, which is, again, evil, fatal, deadly, injurious, and hurtful. And this is the exact quote again. The NASA Space Physics Division shown a persistent pernicious bias against the work of gas in the local interstellar medium. My gosh, yes. So then he's talking about the dominant role of neutral hydrogen in the formation of the termination shock where the solar wind collides with this medium. That's the point. Has only been recently recognized by the particle and field research community, which has been supported primarily by the Space Science Division. So, what if the local interstellar medium is getting hotter and brighter and more magnetically charged? And what if that is the ultimate answer of the planetary ascension that we're seeing, that all that interplanetary climate change that we've discussed, that Dr. Benny Pizer was talking about, a number of diverse bodies in our solar system showing warming. What if this is caused by us drifting into a cloud of higher cosmic energy? Well, that's exactly what seems to be happening. Dr. Merav Ofer actually got something out about this in 2009, that we're drifting into a huge hot cloud. And you can see behind her on her computer, this is a map of the Earth's heliosphere, and then in the front is the local interstellar medium. And sure enough, there's this area there that's called the bow shock, and it's all bright and hot. and it's getting brighter and hotter. So she found a strong, unexpected, highly tilting interstellar magnetic field near the solar system, and the original press release was gone. So just like Dr. Don Szymanski said, NASA has a bias against showing you that the interstellar medium is changing. This press release that I made such a big deal about, and everybody said, oh my God, this is proof of the photon belt. It is. This is actually now no longer online. We had to extract it from archive.org, believe it or not. And it said the solar system is passing through an interstellar cloud that physics says should not exist. There you go. It's much brighter and has 6,000 degrees. And it was in the December 24th issue of Nature. I just showed you the paper. We discovered a strong magnetic field hanging out just outside the solar system. It holds the interstellar cloud together and solves the long-standing puzzle of how it can exist at all, according to Dr. Merov Ofer. And the new cloud is delineated in yellow, and you'll see the larger image there. It has implications for the future when our solar system will eventually bump into other similar clouds in the arm of our Milky Way galaxy. Well, that was the link, and now it no longer exists. Thankfully, the browser I was using helped me find it on archive.org, but otherwise it's not on any NASA website anymore. This is where I had to go find it on archive.org. But this is the original link before it disappeared. And again, why did it disappear? Maybe the same thing Burchett was talking about. Passing through an interstellar cloud, physics says should not exist. The December 24th issue of Nature, the team of scientists revealed how Voyager solved the mystery. And again, I just said it before, but we'll do it again. A strong magnetic field just outside the solar system, says Dr. Merov Ofer, NASA heliophysics guest investigator. This magnetic field holds their interstellar cloud together, solving a long-standing puzzle of how it exists at all. Astronomers call this cloud we're running into a local interstellar cloud, or local fluff. It's about 30 light years wide and contains a wispy mixture of hydrogen and helium atoms at a temperature of 6,000 degrees Celsius. So we are moving into a cloud that is 6,000, it's 100 degrees Celsius boils water. And so it appears that the explanation of interplanetary climate change is, yes, we're moving into this super cloud. It's very, very hot, very magnetic, like nothing we've ever seen before. The Voyager data revealed that the fluff was much more strongly magnetized than we had ever suspected at 4 to 5 microgauss. That is showing us that this is very powerful, could be affecting our solar system. 2 Voyager probes racing out of our system for more than 30 years, now beyond the orbit of Pluto and on the verge of entering interstellar space, but they are not there yet. The Voyagers, she says, are not actually inside the local fluff, but they are getting close, and they can sense what this cloud is like as they approach it. The fluff is held at bay just beyond the edge of the solar system by the sun's magnetic field. Okay, so there it is. We're heading into this thing that is much denser and more powerful than they ever thought. Called the Heliosphere, the bubble is a shield that protects our inner solar system from galactic cosmic rays and interstellar clouds. And then there is one surviving article on NBC that's still out there about this. That's the only other one that wasn't like somebody just writing on their own private blog. Astrophysical magnetic fields are often measured in units of Gauss. The Earth has a magnetic field of approximately 0.5 Gauss. Therefore, 4 to 5 microgauss may seem pretty weak, but this field covers an astonishing scale. So there you go. It's much stronger than the Earth's own magnetic field, and it's represented by this bright area that we're colliding with as we go into the front of this new region of the solar system. So good old Dr. Avi Loeb shows up back in 2024 before he got so well known for 3I Atlas, and they were actually talking about the idea that there was another time where we collided with one of these clouds and that it could have had a dramatic effect on life on planet Earth. Well, now we're literally going into one again right now. I mean, we're seeing that we're on the verges of it, so this could be the same thing happening again, thus leading to major solar changes, major solar activity. So here it is. Now researchers have traced the sun's path through the Milky Way back to a crash 2 to 3 million years ago into a dense interstellar cloud. The event was so violent it appears to have collapsed the sun's protective bubble around the solar system and possibly even affected life on Earth. So that might be what's happening now. I mean, thankfully the bubble hasn't collapsed, but Same kind of thing could be going on with the interstellar, the interplanetary climate change. So then they're giving her credentials. She made the discovery in a 2021-22 fellowship at Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study, published recently in Nature. She explored whether the Earth might have come in contact with the interstellar medium outside the heliosphere, protective bubble around our solar system created by the magnetic fields of the sun. Though the Earth is often thought of as a planet circling a stationary star, the sun is constantly in motion. In fact, it travels through our galaxy at about 56,000 miles an hour, bringing with it planets, asteroids, comets, and other bodies of our solar system. Researchers believe that during these travels, a collision may have happened between 2 and 3 million years ago, and another around 7 million years ago. The evidence exists in notable peaks of 2 radioactive isotopes, iron-60 and plutonium-244. I find this very interesting. So in other words, when we collided with this, there was interstellar material that comes into our solar system, comes into the Earth, and deposits as these radioactive materials because they now think it's from colliding with this cloud in the interstellar space. Both these elements are very rare. When massive stars explode in supernovas, they're thought to be plentiful in the interstellar medium. And she says it's everywhere, in the deep ocean, on the moon, on the ice in Antarctica. These papers describe a global phenomenon. Something happened. Iron-60 not produced on Earth. I knew that somehow this iron-60 got trapped in dust, and somehow 2 to 3 million years ago, we had more dust being delivered to us. As she looked farther down the path that the sun's planets might have taken, her gaze settled on a string of dense clouds of interstellar dust and hydrogen atoms called the local ribbon of cold clouds 2 to 3 million years away as the sun flies. Okay, we found the cloud 2 to 3 million years ago when this event took place of the depositing of the iron and what was the other one? Plutonium, I guess. I got so excited, she said. This will collapse the heliosphere, and then the Earth is an interstellar medium collecting more dust, and that can explain this peak I've seen in iron-60, which, by the way, is the buckyball fullerene molecule. Actually, iron-60. Ofer got in touch with good old Dr. Avi Loeb, the Frank Baird Professor of Science directing Harvard's Institute for Theory and Computation, where she spent a sabbatical year in 17 to 18. The two used computer models to examine the movement of both the solar system and the interstellar dust clouds themselves, which also are in motion. They tracked the sun's path back to a potential collision with the densest cloud in the ribbon, called the local links of cold clouds, holding more than half of the total mass of the ribbon. Dr. Avi Loeb said a few million years ago there was a potential for us to be passing through a very dense cloud. We didn't work out the biological implications, but it's clear if you shrink the heliosphere within the orbit of the sun around the Earth, then we are no longer going to be protected. This could have significant implications for life on Earth. Our work draws attention to our cosmic neighborhood as having a potential influence on life on Earth. We usually tend to just look at it and enjoy it, but we are actually moving through interstellar space, and there could be risks along the way. So there you go. This really does create a very interesting, compelling case for the solar flash hypothesis. And when we collided with this cloud, maybe we would have been scheduled to have a solar flash. Maybe whatever Dr. Ofer discovered was going to come into alignment in 2012. And this is where, again, we got back to our sun's closest neighbor next door. If we were drifting into a huge galactic energy cloud, the nearest next door star we have is Alpha Centauri, which is a trinary system, and you got Proxima Centauri hanging out there. Proxima Centauri did have a solar flash at the same time as the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012, as we've said before. I wanted to go over this again, because it's very interesting. So there's Proxima related to the other 3 stars. It's much smaller, has a different trajectory, everything else. So when we imagine now that the Proxima Centauri is very close to our star, if there's a big cloud in space, we're both going to be colliding with it at the same time. Did this happen around the year 2012? Well, yeah, Proxima had a big solar flash around the year 2012, as I've said before. I want to get into this again. Everybody got excited about it because it might have an Earth-like planet. Why Proxima Centauri may have a tiny shiny tint. A tiny shint? I almost said that. And then we have, okay, Stephen Hawking said that he could create nanoprobes to reach it within 20 years and find this life on this planet. But they found a giant flare that could kill any hope of finding a planetary system. So scientists discovered a flare off the sun's closest stellar neighbor, Proxima Centauri. Many are reporting it could spell trouble for any hope of life on this exoplanet Proxima b, but it might also kill off a presumed set of other planets around the star. The researchers used data from the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, ALMA, dozens of radio dishes in the Chilean desert, imaging radio wavelength light emissions to precise details. But rather than just average out all the data, they watched how it changed over time. And this is, again, a photograph of those actual dishes. I think this is from the movie Contact. This new analysis implied that the star actually released a 1 minute long flare 1,000 times brighter than the star's usual shine, perhaps 10 times brighter than the most powerful solar flares from our own sun on record, according to Alicia Weinberger. Their results have been accepted to the Astrophysical Journal Letters. There you go. ALMA discovered a powerful solar flare. So here's the date, folks. This is where it gets so interesting. March 24th, 2017 was no ordinary day for Proxima Centauri, according to Meredith McGregor, an astronomer at the Carnegie Institution for Science, led the research with Alicia Weinberger, another Carnegie astronomer. Well, check this out. March 24th, let's remember that date, 3/24/17. Now, what do we know about, what did we just see on the map? We saw that Proxima is 4.3 light years away. When we subtract March 24th, 2017 by 4.3 rather light years, I'm sorry, this is what we actually get. If we take it, first of all, let's take -4. That brings us to March 2013. Obviously, 4 years back, it's still going to be March. 7/3, okay, -4, that works. 0.3 of 12 months is another 4 months. So March 24th of 2013 minus 4 months more brings us to actually December 24th, 2012, 3 days away from the alleged Mayan calendar end date, where I had predicted for many years before then that we might have a solar flash. So we did have a solar flash on our next door neighbor. We've got interplanetary climate change. We've got the cloud in place for all that. And it happened right then. So these are the people who discovered this. Meredith McGregor is the first one. And then we have Alicia Weinberger. She's the second one. There she is in front of the telescope. Check this out. The flare increased Proxima Centauri's brightness by 1,000 times over 10 seconds. 1,000 times brightness increase. That is literally the definition of a solar flash happening around December 24th of 2012. Wow. This was preceded by a smaller flare. Taken together, the whole event lasted fewer than 2 minutes of the 10 hours ALMA observed the star between January and March last year. 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. Wow. So powerful, it was visible to the naked eye. As the team indicates in their study, and this is what's weird, they changed it to 2016, whereas the other article I showed you from phys.org had it as 2017. That's weird, because this threw off the whole, or no, the other one was a different website. This is phys.org. They call it 2016 now. They changed the year, which throws off the 2012 alignment. But when I looked at the other site, it definitely said 2017. March 24th, 2017. Okay, isn't that strange? NASA might be messing around a little bit here. It was rather powerful. So it says again, March 2016, which again, it was 2017 in the other article. The first known Proxima super flare, 10 to the 33.5 ergs, 10 times larger than any previously detected flare, 30 times larger than any optically measured Proxima flare. That is just huge. The event briefly increased Proxima's visible light emissions by 38 times, or 68%, 68x at the cadence of the human eye. Although no M dwarfs are usually visible to the naked eye, it briefly became a 6.8 magnitude star during the super flare and was visible to dark sight naked eye observers. Wow. The team also notes over the last 2 years they've recorded 23 other large flares, ranging from 10 to the 30 to 10 to the 32, and they predicted at least 5 super flares occur each year. But they never saw any of them before this date, which we just calculated, December 24th of 2012. That's the first time they ever saw one. So maybe what happens is that as you go into this galactic cloud, it keeps on shooting out all this stuff over and over again. So then they're saying that even one large flare could wipe out life on Earth. The repeated flaring is sufficient to reduce our ozone by 90% in an Earth-like planet within 5 years. We would estimate complete depletion within several 100,000 years. There'd be no ozone at all. So the UV light reached the surface with 100 times the intensity to kill bacteria. Without bacteria, we'd be dead, suggesting that life would struggle to survive in the areas of Proxima b that were exposed to those flares. So again, this was the fulfillment of the 2012 solar flash. As long as we go with the first date that she said, which was March 24th, 2017, she's quoted in an article. Why would she get the year wrong? I don't think she would. So the Mayan calendar end date, again, was December 21st, 2012. And that is very, very intense when we look at that correlation because it's so close. It's only 3 days off. Just with a simple 4.3 years. And I can dig into it more and it gets even closer. But it's right around Christmas too. So that was part of why I want to go into this. What do you guys think? So it's like there's a lot going on here. And again, Greth Jacobson says she turned 60 years old, whoops, on the date of March 24th, 2017. It's a great year. Yes, I did talk about this in some of my other work. So let's take a look now and see what we got here. All right, hang on a minute, you guys. What do we want to do? Yeah, so we'll bring in more quotes on Ascension and things like this before. But in light of the stress of this deadline and everything that's going on, so the solar flash we tie in with Virgin Mary of Garabandal. I believe that we could have had a solar flash on the Mayan calendar end date. That's when they found it, but it was held back by some type of divine intervention. So to me, this again shows the divine is intervening. We're not going to have a catastrophe. The Earth is not going to be blown up. I thought there might be a solar flash, and maybe there will in the future, but I don't think it's going to happen until we're ready for it. And maybe it's caused by this 6,000 degree cloud that Dr. Merov Ofer discovered that NASA doesn't want you to know about. Maybe that cloud was hitting our two stars at the same time. Maybe we're just about to hit them, and maybe we're in a binary pairing too. And so it could be that there's an energetic connection between our star and Alpha Centauri, that they're in a binary system. I believe that. And remember, Dr. Nikolai Kozyrev, the Russian scientist, found that the fluctuations of one star happen on the other star in the binary system at the same time, even though they're separated by light years of distance. They fluctuate simultaneously. This is one of the really, really interesting things. So anyway, this is a very interesting thing that we have going on here, all these connections emerging. And again, we're in the Ascension Festival, the Festival of Ascension. So I don't think that this material that I've been telling you is incorrect. I think that the solar flash I was predicting did happen. It just happened next door in a binary system. Maybe it got held off for a time from us. But there's a lot of really good things here. In fact, there is one thing that I do want to do. We have enough time to do it. So let me, I want to cut to that one slide because that is really, really critical. Here we go. There it is. All right. So one of the people who got these pieces of contactee information from human ETs in the 1950s was George Hunt Williamson. And he wrote various books, Other Tongues, Other Flesh, Secret Places of the Lion, Other Voices, and then the one that I really resonated with the most was Road in the Sky. And this is something I've brought out in many, many of my talks over the years. It never gets old. You can see here that it was written in 1959, and it is absolutely staggering. Because what does he say? He was contacted, first of all, he was contacted by human ETs. Beginning in 1952, they contacted him on ham radio using the telegraph system, believe it or not. We had two different donations come in. We got Manny Figueroa and we got Dr. Phil XR. Thank you guys very much for those donations. You can see them right here. Manny says UAP scientists took a body cam Key left on the counter with his phone last night. Look up Langley, MIT, PhD, Belgian-born Bran Den Stiel. He's a PM cryptochemist. Oh, maybe, I don't know what, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but did he die or something? Or the key was left on his counter with the phone last night. Oh, so I guess maybe another one died. Anyway, Dr. Phil says, Happy Western Easter. Maybe a solar flash UV portion would act like Jesus' UV flash, imprinting the Shroud of Turin. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Thank you guys for the donations. I really appreciate it. You're helping make it a happy day. Judy says, my phone is extremely hot. I have to shut it down. I'll see you soon. Okay, yes, he's missing, says Manny Figueroa. Okay, got it. So again, this whole concept of the ascension happening and all these interesting things that are going on relates back to what happened with George Hunt Williamson, where in the 1950s, he had this ET contact. Another donation come in, Neela Zerker. Sorry for the lack of continuity. And anyway, when the message came in from the ETs, this is what they had to actually say. In 1952, we were told that our planet and our entire solar system were entering the outer fringes of a great cosmic cloud or area of intense cosmic ray activity. As we entered the fringes of this field of energy, we began experiencing its effects of strange weather, melting ice caps, earthquakes, increase in cosmic rays, and effects on radio broadcasting. The governments of the world were deeply concerned over these changes and set up special projects studying radiation, its effects on organic life. And so a few months after the prophecies of 1952 regarding future cosmic, look, dude, that's exactly what we're seeing. We found the cloud, 6,000 degrees Celsius. It's very magnetic, 4 to 5 microgauss. The Earth is only 0.5. And what do they say? They tell us in these prophecies that it's going to trigger our ascension process. So that's really faith building for me. And Neela said, what about Sir Isaac Newton's posthumously discovered end date prediction of discovering the Old Testament for the year 2060? Never heard of that one before. Don't know. It's interesting. So again, look at all these wars and rumors of wars. Look at the threat, the fear. Oh my God, are we going to lose the Middle East? Are we going to lose the planet? Is this going to turn into World War III? All this scary stuff is going on. This is exactly what we were told that we might worry about in these ancient prophecies. And then, here it is, we were entering the outer fringes of a great cosmic cloud. And remember, the prophecy said 2012. We had a solar flash next door on December 24th, 2012, or thereabouts. It's amazing, because it takes the light from Proxima Centauri 4.3 years to reach us. So if the flash happened on March 24th, 2017, you dial that back in time, that goes back to December 24th, 2012, based on the way that light travels. So it's actually very, very interesting how this all works. So he says the fact that too many electrons are showering down on us and our present theories don't account for them, added to the fact that certain cosmic rays are bombarding the Earth from outside our own solar system, tends to support the idea that our entire solar system is entering into a new region of the universe, which will cause ascension, creating changes in every phase of our life: economics, religion, education, politics, science, social life, medicine, eating habits, etc. Virtually everything will be influenced for the better. To me, this is just awesome. I brought it up in many of my old shows that I've done, but this just never gets old. The Holy Bible contains many references obviously connected with the cause and effect of the increased vibratory rate. 1 Corinthians 15:45, and so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last Adam, is a quickening spirit. So it's like this quickening, this ascension. 1 Corinthians 15:47, the first man is of the earth and earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. And we go to 1 Corinthians 15:49 through 53. As we have borne the image of the earth, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Now this I say, brethren, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. This is perfect for Easter, isn't it? I had to bring this up for Easter. Neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. You got to love that, right? It's just hilariously ironic. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For the corruptible must put on incorruption, and the mortal must put on immortality. Wow. So in the 1950s, 1959, this book was coming out. He is predicting that there is going to be a great cloud that we enter into, that it's going to do something to our whole solar system, and they do talk about the solar flash in a lot of these prophecies that he's referring to. And yet, we expected it December 21st, 2012, Mayan calendar end date. It didn't happen here. It did happen next door on Proxima Centauri, which could very well be binary paired with our solar system. It's incredible. Creative Nature Girl says, David, thank you for being you and happy Easter. Thank you for the donation. Really appreciate it. Yes, this is fascinating. The corruptible must put on incorruption, and the mortal must put on immortality. My goodness. We shall be changed in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye. So this is like some kind of multidimensional shift that the sun is going to do. We saw Dr. Avi Loeb actually describing how it happened before. The iron 60 all over the earth shows up from somewhere right when we hit that cloud. Now we're hitting another cloud. The star next door went off exactly on December 21st, 2012, or right near it, right around Christmas time. It's incredible. So what was it that Mark had to say? Midnight Mark. I'm feeling depressed. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. But we have a reading coming up here, so just hang in there. It's good. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein righteousness dwells. 2 Peter 3:13. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth. The former shall not be remembered, nor ever come into mind. Isaiah 65:17. The promise for the remnant who remains is found in Isaiah 66:22. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. There shall be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth the distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Men and women's hearts failing them for fear to look after the things coming on the earth. The powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud. We know what that is now. With power and great glory. When these things begin to come to pass, look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws near. Luke 21:25 through 28. So again, what is going on here exactly? I'm not really sure, but it's certainly cause for excitement. This is a time where everything is changing around us in beautiful, beautiful ways. The Law of One predicts a 100 to 700 year transitional period that we're going to go through as we hit this process. And so, first of all, let's actually bring up some. Should we do that? Let's see. Now we'll do the Ascension prophecies next week because we had enough of them from the Bible right now. I really do want to get into this reading because it's such an intense time, and I wrote this actually before, for last week's show. We never got to do it, but I want to do it again, or otherwise it's going to age a little too much. So this came in on Saturday, February 28th of 2026, last Saturday of last week. And I think that right now, with all the stuff that's going on, this is a very, very important thing for us to read, and it's going to help us just calm down and be able to remember what's really going on and focus on the positive so we can all live better, happier, and more fulfilling lives. So again, I don't think that, this is something that I brought in just on my own, the inner Christ self, inner Christ consciousness. So I meditated, I tuned in deep, and I just listened, and I wrote down what I was hearing, just like I used to do in the old days. But I'm older now and wiser now, and I think this is probably ultimately more centered material that's just better, I think, overall. And then Jay Brady, we can all feel it happening now inside of us. It's like a frequency and anxiety. Something's been building. I hope all is well, brother. Happy Easter. So this is about becoming the light. And remember, that Casey reading said that it happens all the time as we're becoming more grateful. So let's read this, because this is going to be a good meditation for us. You are living through a very intense and vigorous time to be alive on Earth. Never before has the veil between realities been so thin or easy to penetrate. As you gaze at the world with a new set of eyes, remember how deeply and truly you are loved. This greater intrinsic knowledge has never left you. Everything you need to know is available now. Your pain is real, but so is your triumph. These challenges reflect back to you those parts of the human collective that remain unhealed. Think about what's going on over in Iran. I mean, wow. Understand and appreciate that this is but a transitory phase. The world will not stay like this indefinitely. It moves beyond limitation and into true healing. The nature of life is abundance, joy, love, and peace. Remember the wisdom imparted to you by the great master teachers throughout time and space. Remember the love that you have been shown, the dedication, the glory, the beingness, and the understanding of infinite peace. When discrepancy lies within, it is your great task to reflect upon the healing that is still being presented and to accept it. So this is very important, the idea that we remember the love that we're shown, we remember the dedication, the beingness, the peace. And what book was David reading from? It was called Road in the Sky by George Hunt Williamson. There you go. Moving through layers and layers of difficulty, you find yourself becoming numb at times, feeling indifferent to the struggle, compromised by the challenge, and defeated by the sheer enormity of the road that still seems to lie ahead. This is out to midnight mark. Indeed, all of this is simply the shadow within you that yearns to be transformed into the light. It's a very good point. The shadow is the part of us that doesn't believe that this is going to work out. But again, we were told about 2012, Mayan calendar end date. We were told in 1952 we're entering into a great cloud. These things are coming true. So how do we know that we're not going to have a big transformation? These prophecies might come true, and it's fascinating to me. That's why I love talking about this. In your core being, there is truth. In your grander aspect, you have already achieved that which you seek to attain. In the everlasting universe, love knows no bounds. You can take stock of who and what you really are and redefine your former self in light of the new information that is all around you. Think about the water and how it forms DNA. Just by energetic resonance, we could form new DNA in ourselves. This is the path of great wisdom, healing, and love. The ancient prophecies spoke of these times with remarkable clarity and precision. You were warned in advance of wars and rumors of wars, great tribulations to beset the planet Earth. You were told of a pathway to full redemption, a loving consciousness within that can move over all obstacles with confidence and grace. Veritably, your destiny is to become the light. I mean, this actually works even better on Easter than it does on, the Palm Sunday that was where I originally was going to do this. Without these warning signs, humanity would never embrace its true potential. Castigated by the masses, the Christ consciousness rises again when epic times call for great healing. There's Easter. He is risen. You triumph through adversity and recognize the intrinsic bounty that your life was meant to convey to you and to others. This understanding truly transforms your being. Never again need you feel abandoned or unidentified by the universe. All that you are is available in each and every moment. Nothing is lost or missing. There are no mistakes, only opportunities for greater light, greater love, and greater healing. And this is totally grounded within all of the esoteric philosophy I've studied. These are very great truisms, and I really do believe this is true. With your great abundance fully realized, you become that which you are seeking. The law is omnipresent and yet very personal and unique to each soul. As you learn how the pieces fit together, You redefine yourself with everlasting clarity. Cause and effect, push and shove, being and believing, all intersecting in a greater whole. Let's not forget the majesty that is available as you redefine yourself and seek to become the light. Once upon a time, the answers came easily. In the dawn of the universe, polarity and discrepancy did not exist as it does today. This was actually a time of great stagnation and boredom. There was no impetus to seek and enjoy the bounty of the great mysteries of the universe. Life was lived in a state of perpetual bliss without the angst or worry that can drive great innovation. So this is really getting into the law of one's core message, which is that yes, strife and pain and anxiety and fear and chaos are all things that are used by this higher cosmic intelligence to propel us into positivity, to propel our evolutionary state beyond where it's been into a whole new consciousness. And that's really, really exciting because that's really what this is all about, you know? And so yes, I like reading this, and I hope everybody else does too. We haven't lost anybody. You guys are still here. Thank you very much. When will you discuss the rainbow body? Well, this is, again, a big part of what's going on, is rainbow body activation. But I think that what we're seeing here is this is all happening now as we embrace Christ philosophies, Christ principles in our own lives. We are living in this way where we're going to have an ascension type of activation. We see this. It's a big, big part of the storyline for humanity, for planet Earth right now. And we don't take it for granted. We live in the knowingness that we are transforming. And even with all these scary things going on, we're going to have very positive developments as we learn to be more loving with each other. So again, this is talking about the dawn of the universe. At the beginning of the universe, we had no veil between the conscious and superconscious mind. Everybody was connected to God consciousness. And believe it or not, it didn't work out. It was bad because we had, people not seeing their true beingness and not being inspired to change. It was only once the veil was created and the possibility of polarity and evil started that the universe, according to the law of one, got kick-started into a much higher level of evolution, where now you have something to work against. Now you have something to struggle against. Now you have pain and intriguing things. We love you, David. This is amazing. Thank you very much. That's right. Thank you. And thank you for the donations. I really, really appreciate everybody who's helped out with that. And it helps me more than you know to be able to feed myself and get through this. Hopefully we have a deal coming in very soon. There's several things that we're looking at that could happen any time now. We really hope that it does with our company. So, anyways, great stagnation, boredom at the beginning of the universe. Now we see how the rules are redefined by the veil between realities. The fullness of the universe is not available. Oh, yeah, that's true. The fullness of the universe is not available to your conscious mind in the here and now. You seek for that which you wish to become, an embodiment of that very peace that surpasses all understanding. So, the veiling means we don't have the fullness of the universe available to the conscious mind. It's not there. The rules are redefined by the veil between realities. But the fact that we don't have the fullness of the universe available to the conscious mind is what causes us to seek for what we wish to become, and we wish to become the light. The embodiment of that very peace surpasses understanding. The glory of that moment resonates indefinitely. So as we're going through this pain and struggle, we're actually living in that greater truth. We're living in that truth of ascension. It's activating in us as we go through this pain, and I think that's something very, very significant. And, okay, well, wow. Not everybody is getting along in the chat. Sorry about that, folks. It's outside of my hands. It's just a little argument going on. No big deal. Opening yourself to the peace and the bounty of the present moment, you see beyond the limitations and you embrace the greater truth of what is. This is not a path of failure, but only one of greater and greater levels of success and realization. The aperture of intelligent infinity opens to allow you to see the light that is always there. I mean, I love this. I love the fact that I have the gift of writing and that I can write these things that are beautiful wherever it came from inside of me. It was just a source from my inner self that wanted to say these things. You can only get greater and greater realization as you embrace the bounty of the present moment. That's a great teaching. Ross Feinstein just donated a little something to say we love you. Thank you very much, Ross. I'm glad you're doing better and you're here this week. When you find that truth within yourself, it is a glorious moment of awakening. You have stepped beyond the limitations that once defined you as a mortal soul. You've embraced that elixir of immortality that is the great bounty of all enlightened beings. Everlasting mind opens to you, and you naturally access its many gifts and remembrances. Opening your heart, allowing the love to redefine who and what you are, this is the path of greatest healing and attainment. The source flows within and without you, and your life moves through successive grades of achievement and understanding. The path becomes clearer as your connection grows stronger with each passing day. So I kind of was quoting a little bit from that Beatles song, George Harrison song. We were talking about the space between us all and the people who gain the world and lose the soul. They don't know, they can't see how you're one of them. If they only knew. And life flows within you and without you. That's what it does at the end. Anyway, that was pitchy, but I can't do the whole thing. I quote a little of it. That's one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time. Within you and without you. That's what it says at the end. You guys know that song? Yep. Anyway, it's on, I forget what album, but beautiful. I love that song. Thank you guys for understanding. Everything will turn out well. That's right. So, let's keep on going with this reading here. Let's see what's happening. Anyway, when you see all the nasty things going on, know that his coming is near, says Linda Kiesling. Yes, I mean, it's, we're working through this stuff, but it is powerful. So we're going to keep going, normal time limit here. Your life opens naturally to the greater mysteries that surround and envelop you. And you are transformed by the honesty, consistency, and truthfulness of your efforts. The great glory is yours for the taking, as you remember who and what you truly are. This is the Festival of Ascension, folks. The path becomes clearer, and the light within grows stronger as you embrace understanding. You approach pain in a new and different way, no longer besieged by the negative, only transformed by the opportunity to seek that grace that will never leave you. This is great. Your eyes and mind open to new truths that have never quite made sense to you before. And you are redefined by the perfection of the present moment, now fully realized. So pain, we're going through so much pain, but we can realize it differently and not be besieged by the negative. Living in the glory and the grace of what will be, you transform into something you never thought was even possible. And in that knowing, in that loving, in that remembrance, you are healed. Many others have attained this before you, and now it is your turn to embrace the grace and might that is your divine birthright. Each and every moment you are transforming. The solace of the quiet meditative mind becomes a ripple that moves throughout the greater body. Lapping against the shoreline is the knowledge of infinity and timelessness, and the grace that comes from the trust in the innate goodness of the universe. The great path of the saints and the sages is now yours. Breathing through the pain and the difficulty, you are no longer threatened by that which is. You see a path to greater healing that is entirely free for you to produce, generated by the very knowledge that you are never alone, nor abandoned, and that universal abundance is always available to you in the here and now. We had a donation come in. Bow Hunter 20, he says, David, you are looking more and more like Mr. Casey. Please tell me you have a picture of him for side by side on the screen. It looks like you're already ascending. Well, I don't know about that, but that's right. Shameless plug for David's audio recording on his website, Wander Awakening. So many beautiful songs that I sing in. That is true. Anyway, we do have, I've showed you those pictures before, but we don't have it in the show right now. Anyway, they are online somewhere. The more you work through this meditation, the more fully you embody its pretenses. You are defined by the effort you make, and you are transformed by the love you give and the love that you receive in kind. This is not superstition, but an active, transformative, and divine recognition of who and what you really are. Opening up to the wellspring of infinite intelligence that is within you, the peace resonates outwardly to all others, and the strength of your commitment is duly noted by the heavenly host that surrounds you. You become an active participant in the transformation of the earth to a higher state of light, love, and reflection of infinity. You are loved so very much. Remember this above all else. The light that surrounds you is the emanation of the everlasting universe. As you bathe in its radiance, you become ever more attuned to the Holy Spirit that is within you, and in that glory, you are transformed. You become something far more significant. So let yourself revel in the glory of the now and accept the awesome responsibility that comes with being a true steward of the light. This is not a time for inaction, but for active movement across many different dimensions. This is where you truly rise to the challenge of being a spiritual entity. Let that understanding flow through you. And somebody is commenting about, I'm so sad, David, with all this hate and division. I don't believe in religion. All it does is divide your faith. We should be one faith under God. Do you agree? Well, I think religion is good for various people, but the point is we are all being transformed as we go through this, and this is not a time to be sad. This is a time for active movement across different dimensions, rising to the challenge of being a spiritual entity. I do believe that absolutely. Okay. Live in the truth of everlasting beingness and remember your calling to reunify with the oneness and share that blessing with others. This is the great calling of all sentient life. This is the great mystery that is unveiled when you reveal the labyrinth of self and find the solution. This is the wonderment of knowing that you are truly one with the all there is. Not everyone can attain such levels of self-mastery. This is not an easy path, but it carries such great resonance that achieving it is truly monumental. Happiness is yours for the taking as you open to the infinite possibilities of the present moment. You become that which you already are, and every facet of your being undergoes a remarkable and lasting transfiguration. Everlasting peace is not unattainable. Everlasting truth is already omnipresent. Everlasting joy is your natural birthright as you step forth and become more of what you already are in the greatest sense. Everlasting wisdom is the great elixir that nourishes and slakes even the most intense spiritual thirst. Though your world may seem to be in a frightening predicament at this time, remember that this is a universe of light. You exist in a co-created holographic reality, upheld and defined by your own thoughts. Think thoughts of peace and tranquility, and happiness can be yours, everlasting. These sophisms have been challenged repeatedly throughout time and space. Many great teachers have wrestled with these understandings, much as you have. The fundamental ground state of being is loving kindness, as it was since the beginning. Knowing this and living this way is the gateway to intelligent infinity indeed. Much as the otter swims on his back in the night sky and holds his hands together in fealty, So too are you attuned to the greater stars and lights of the infinite universe, ready to crack the shell that is formed around your heart and experience the ambrosia that comes from knowing your true place in the universe. That's right, we want to know your place. I love this. This is beautiful stuff. I was very inspired when this was coming in. Visions of resplendent beauty open up before you, and life takes on a characteristic of greater meaning that never before seemed possible. The Great One makes its presence known to you, and the glory of infinite consciousness becomes attainable in the here and now. You are emboldened by this quickening spirit and unshaken by the turmoil of public events. You become your own center of gravity, inertia, and spiritual balance. Your life is undeterred by the struggle that can so greatly downcast others. I highlighted that after the fact on purpose. That's where we want to get to, folks. This is the goal here. You awaken to the ineffable truth of everlasting living light, and your soul is transformed by the strength of your commitment to growth. The hero's journey begins a new chapter, with your own sacrifice and struggle at the forefront of the greater story being told. You revel in the wonderment of the understanding that results as you see it laid out before you, and the omnipresent mystery of an endless day of light everlasting, with foundations and truths never before seen. Notwithstanding the difficulties inherent in the classic hero's journey, there is a great boon, a victory that is far beyond that which the material world can provide. It is the understanding that the light is within, and you become that light through the strength of your own constitution and conviction. This is the great mystery writ large. The omnipresence of your being cannot be threatened by any force on earth. You exist outside and beyond any petty definitions that could so greatly weigh down many others. Your eyes are ablaze with the promise of a planetary awakening and the glory that so soon will be realized within the hearts and minds of humanity. Maybe this was prophetic of the fact that my eyes have the hay fever and now they're blazing. I don't know. It's a funny way of looking at it. Co-creating this nexus of healing together, we are uplifted by the promise of this omnipresent mystery now fully deciphered and revealed. Life was always about challenges, struggles, and attainment in the grander spiritual sense. The strength of your commitment to this process now becomes paramount in the golden age. Many will see it but not understand at first. Many will attempt to entrap those who have sought after the light within themselves, although their efforts will be largely fruitless. You have the opportunity to be a golden vessel of planetary healing, to enunciate the truths that resonate far beyond the boundaries of space and time. Where would it be so effortless to have these realizations come springing forth? Nowhere but in the arena of the human mind, a place that can be transformed in a fraction of space and time, thanks to the omnipresent and ever-shifting nature of intention at its core. It is always a blessing to remember who and what you really are, behind all the false illusions, veils, and storylines imposed by the rational material mind. The moment is replete with an infinite intelligence, and it is a veritable cornucopia of awakening for those who would but perceive it. Tazinator, thank you for the donation. So live up to your faith, live up to your calling, become that radiant being that you know yourself to be in the grandest sense. Step forward into the light and receive the anointing of infinity. Live without fear and trust in the goodness of the universe. Your immortal soul is as tangible and specific as the 3 dimensions you thrive within each day. Your everlasting infinite truth is the love of an eternal bliss, and your soul is rejuvenated with the remembrance that you are truly never alone. All that you are is all you will ever be, and the knowledge of this truth transforms you. Yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we shall fear no evil. For the light of an infinite universe bespeaks only of glory, bounty, happiness, and truth. Never again need we live without the knowingness that this greater protection surrounds us. And so it is. That light, that love, that resonance is a divine gift beyond comparison. It never leaves you once you simply attune to the nature of its being and embrace the totality of its presence. The love does not age nor decay. It is beyond space and time, life everlasting. To reflect upon this great truth is to become the knowledge it conveys. To reveal this understanding to others is to further its remembrance within the greater self. To love one another without hesitation, to be whole and pure in the commitment, is to live in the bounty of the everlasting now. This is the essence of your true self. The everlasting now, that is the essence of your true self. Sorry. Remember the gift of the Christ on this Palm Sunday, now Easter Sunday, the celebration of the resurrection. Remember the commitment to humanity that this noble and glorious sacrifice represents. Understand the honor that we have to be here with you now, sharing these words of healing. You are protected, loved, and cared for in ways you cannot even imagine. We are very grateful to support you and to count you as one who is heard and understood. This moment in your history seems contentious and rife with illusions, as this is how the ancient prophecies foretold it would be. Rise above the fear of the moment and recognize that you too can become the light. This process is subtle at first, but will not always remain that way. You have a glorious future ahead of you, truly. We thank you for listening and adhering to these messages, regardless of the hardships involved. Thank you, and peace be with you in the light of everlasting love. Adonai and Amen. Yay! Now let's do a little bit of a quick global peace meditation. Just a couple minutes that we have here. Let's close your eyes now. Somebody said it is still Palm Sunday in Eastern Christianity, actually. All right, close your eyes, both feet flat on the floor. We should do a meditation prayer to help soothe the war end as quickly as possible, says Jay Brady, for humanity itself. Yes. Take a nice deep breath in. Let it go. Take another nice deep breath in. And again, just let it go. Breathing love and healing to all those areas in the world where there is stress and pain and fear. Breathing in this healing process to the areas in the Middle East. We invoke the holy name of Jesus Christ. We ask that this healing Christ love surround these areas so that cooler heads will prevail, negotiations can take place, agreements can be made, understandings can be realized, and truth can surface above illusion. We ask, Father, Mother God, that you give us strength, you give us your blessing, you give us the glory of your remembrance of who and what we are at this time, that we too may live and bask and revel in your glory, that we may know your love, we may know your peace, we may know your understanding. Breathing deeply into the silence, feeling that peace flowing through our bodies now, feeling it resonating within us, flowing through our bodies. Learning that we are not alone, and sending that loving, healing white light to those areas where the healing needs to happen, into the minds, hearts, and souls of those who are making these negotiations. There may be a blessing, there may be a healing, there may be a glory-induced love, that all these things may come to pass. Even if we coin new words, that's okay. The point is, let's get this done. Let's work on our healing. Let's learn how we can stretch our hands to one another, be more at peace with one another, find the love that is the great calling of the universe, find the blessings that evoke these deep memories within us of who and what we are, that we may also experience that healing of Christ, that healing of Easter, this festival of Ascension, this time of great knowingness that we are not alone, we never have been alone, that we have always been here. We send this loving energy out to the planet. We are so grateful for this healing, so grateful for this loving consciousness, so grateful for what we share today and what we will share in the coming days ahead. Grateful for who we are, grateful for how we got here, and grateful for where we are going. For in the grandest sense, we do remember that we are the light, we are the love, we are the one infinite creator, and this is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be, and nothing and no one can ever take that from us. And so it is. Amen. All right. Started to say glory, and I got into gloriful, which is not actually a word But I guess here it is. I coined it. We got that to happen for you guys. That was a pretty novel little thing, wasn't it? I'm very grateful that you guys are here. Most of you stayed in for the meditation. Thank you very much. And arigato, people are saying. Amen. How do you feel about this show? Did you like the show? Did you think it was a good show? Thank you, David. It was an amazing show, says Jay Brady. Thank you, David. I needed to hear that. Serena Bella says, thank you, David. Another amazing show. So it is. Amen. Really appreciate that. Anointed cherub is the highest ranking angel created by God. That was a gloryful meditation. Thank you, David, says Frank Barter. Thank you, David. Great show. Happy Easter. Most gloryful. Full of Glory 2026 by David Wilcock. I like the new word. Thank you, David, as always. I loved the show. Thank you. Today was another great show. Thank you for all your time and effort and energy. You are loved by many. Happy Easter. Ghost of Eye, says Johnny 2JB. Redefining English with David Wilcock, says Gary Hyder. Powerful and enlightened, says the Tazinator. God bless us, everyone, says Stephen Wiscombe. Loved your show as always, says Allison Hammond. Thank you very much. Rhonda says, thank you, David. I enjoyed the show. I look forward to hearing you every Sunday, says Alan August. Happy Easter. Loved the show. It was perfect. We needed to hear that today. The show was better today than the Love Boat, says Scarlet Fire. Happy Easter, David Wilcock. Carolina Patriot, your message was perfect for today. Please pray for my health. I have no voice since Friday. My eyes have hay fever, says Vacapalo. Yeah, apparently there's a fungus going around. I guess that's what happened to me. I might have touched my eye with my hands or something. I'm not sure what. It sucks. I hope it goes away pretty quick, man. I'll tell you, it's not fun. Thank you, David. Great show once again. I wouldn't want to spend Easter Sunday any other way. With you and our community, we love you. Yes, we are a family. Wishing you a gloryful Easter. Amen, says Not Marketing. Wonderful. Feeling glorified, says Jonah Scott. He is risen. Gloryful show, says Matthew. I'll never live that one down. It's okay, though. It was funny. Thanks. Great show, David. Splendiferous show. Thank you, says Paul Harris. Peaceful lessons, growth for all right now. Facing an abdominal aortic aneurysm. I am being healed, says Spirit Rider. Thank you, and we hope that you are healed. We pray for your healing. You can coin new words, David. It was great as always, says Venus Renata. Happy resurrection. Thanks, brother. Great new word. David, I pray for you almost every day, says Lisa Dawn Marble, thanking God ahead of time for keeping you, David, protected from any harmful entities. Linda Kiesling said, I love the show. Katie says, Christ is risen indeed. Ashtara says, Shekinah, Christos, Sophia, light and love, light, unity. Thank you. Yep, all that stuff. How do you highlight your username, please? Jay Brady, let's find out how to do that. Midnight Mark donated, and he says, vibes. Thank you very much, Midnight Mark. I'm glad you're back. We missed you extremely, buddy. I'm glad you're here again. So we're at the 3 hour and 32-minute mark here, which means it is time very soon for me to be signing off. We're going to get to that in just a minute, but I want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all of the gifts that you've given me with your love and your light. And some famous Anon show today was talking about Stavati, and it was all positive. That's great. Yeah, we got some good things happening. I think it will. Colloidal gold for fungus on the skin. I'm definitely not putting colloidal silver in my eye after what happened to me last time. But yeah, it's hopefully just a fungus. It's really concentrated right here. There's a spot there. I don't know exactly what caused it, but it sucks. Thank you, David. Thank you for talking about Mr. Hunt. One of his books transformed my life. Best show since the last show, says Ice Cold Iced Tea. Thank you guys very much. I'm so grateful that you were here today. And we will see you on the next time. Thanks for watching. And scene. All right. We did another